There's more. Hang on to your seat, baby, cause this one's a screamer. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
What is going on, Entertainment? So I'm coming to y'all with another video, and this time we live, baby. We live. So make sure you guys please be respectful as possible in the comments. This after show is for you guys. You already heard all of my opinions on everything. So this after show is really for you guys to call in. Click the link. It's pinned above, so that way you guys could give your opinions on what you guys thought about the docuseries. Who do you guys think is still holding some information from the public? What do you guys think is going to come from this? Have you experienced anything similar? You don't have to share if you don't feel comfortable doing so. So yeah, let's get it started. The first person I'm going to add in, well, I'm gonna give an update. Drake and Josh says that Josh Peck reached out and gave his condolences and said if you need anything, basically was giving him some encouraging words since the docuseries dropped. And also, y'all, Josh Peck is not related to Brian Peck. I've seen that in the comments a couple of times. They're not related. Trust me, I Googled it. I said, all this makes sense now. They're not related. Okay? I thought they were, though. But they're not. Coincidence of a last name, though. The last name itself could still trigger him. So, hey. Now, first person I'm going to add you guys is Dimitri. What's going on, Dimitri?
Hi, Pierre. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
How are you doing? How have you been?
I'm good. Not you doing the Wendy. How are you doing?
Oh my God. So I've seen all four of them. I binge watched all of them last night because I had all the free time in my world. I have a couple things that I'm still confused about. So Mia Mosby, Miss Giovanni or Giovanna.
Right.
So I think it's crazy that what was his name? The Peck guy, not Josh Peck, but Brian Peck.
Peck.
I find it crazy that after he did his time, he ended up on The Sweet Life. And I was like, wait, but she did The Sweet Life. So I'm like,
right.
I had bigger questions of like, wait, they must have used him for a little bit, like in the beginning of season 2.
I looked it up and he only did a few episodes.
Oh, and they probably stopped that just because they probably found out what was going on a little more.
Right, or maybe people started to complain or anything of that sort, but he only did a few episodes.
And I think it's crazy. It's like parallel universes that they both migrated to Disney, and she did the later seasons, but they came from the same exact like background and showing and all that stuff. But another thing I was very shocked by, and I had questioned a little, but then I did some research myself, was the fact that they didn't get Amanda Bynes to do any type of interview.
Right.
And And because I was thinking, oh, they probably didn't interview her because she's still in that conservatorship with her parents. Come to find out, she's not in that conservatorship at all. So I was like, damn, I'm wondering why they didn't interview her. Why maybe she declined, because I know she probably was one of the first people that they probably did try to contact.
Right. She probably didn't feel comfortable to talk about it.
Yeah.
I've heard that she's trying to live like a regular life and that she doesn't want to be a celebrity anymore. And that's why
Yeah.
she's like pursuing like regular, like 9 to 5 type of jobs.
Yeah. Because I know I be following her on Instagram. And I know she like is going to esthetician school. She's taking her degree or taking her certification in nail tech, something like that.
Right.
So I think that's crazy. And then I think what's even gaggier is them using Ariana Grande so much, but she having no type of. I wonder if they did reach out to her too,
I
or
feel
if
like
they
they
just.
reached out and she said no because her management probably even said no. I don't even think she directly said no. And I think it's
Yeah.
because of all the stuff she's having coming soon. Her movie's about to drop and also her album just dropped. I don't think it's smart though that she hasn't said anything.
Yeah.
Just not even to diss Dan, but just be like, oh, I feel sorry for the victims of it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Not even like a statement.
Ye-
Dimitri still there? Oh, we lost Dimitri. Lost Dimitri. All right, I'm gonna add you back. All right. All right, what's going on, Kaya?
Hey P, how you
Doing. Y'all feeling like Wendy tonight.
But P, I just want to appreciate you for doing a review on that because I watched the first episode. I'll tell you right now, I literally could not get through it. I started crying when the Drake Bell segment, and I was like, I'm glad
Yeah,
that you're really good. That's just sad because growing up, I know you said you wasn't a Nickelodeon really a big fan of it, but you did know about it.
yeah,
I big Nickelodeon fan. Okay, let me tell you, I loved the Amanda Show. Loved the. I just remember. I still remember myself watching it, and I loved Amanda Bonds. And I've always said this: when somebody's behavior changes drastically, something happened to them. And I've been saying this for years. Something happened to Drake Bell and Amanda Bonds for them to like go off the deep end, and
right,
people were calling them crazy for years. And I was like, I think there's more to the story, and I'm
right.
all of this is coming out now. So did you like always you said that you've always found it like weird that about the joke. Did you catch on to the jokes when that was in Dan Schneider's shows?
Yeah, iCarly ones were weird. Like I always remember the feet thing, and that's why I mentioned that video. There was this episode of Victorious where like they were
Mhm.
stuck in like a van. Y'all remember that episode where they were stuck in like a van and they couldn't get out,
Yeah,
and Ariana had to get like a water and like she spread on. She was like, "I'm so hot, I can't breathe. Oh my god!" And like she grabbed the bottle of water and started like pointing on herself. Like I was like, "That's weird. Like, why is that a story?" It was just like there. Victorious to me was one of the weirdest shows, kid shows. I don't care what nobody says. Like some of the stuff that happened on there, it didn't make any sense at all.
yeah, exactly. I think because if you were because I read Jeanette McCurdy's book because there was a lot of tea spilled in that book. She
Yeah,
said um that he had the Victorious cast drink that they literally all would drink. Did I remember that correctly? He
right.
said
Because they
that
were a little older than the other shows, the
yes,
cast.
maybe they were fine with it because he let them do get away. Because when we all were that age, right, Pierre? When you're young, you're 16, 17, you like want to grow up too fast, and then when you're able to do all this cool stuff and an adult is enabling it, then
Right,
they're gonna find it cool. So I can see why the Victorious cast he liked the Victorious cast because he basically could tell them what to do and they would do it.
right,
Versus Carly cast, where I feel like Miranda Cosgrove have some kind of sense because she came out fine. She didn't seem like nothing's going on with her. Like you go like she's like very like put together. She's not like wild like a wild child. So I'm surprised because she was working with Dan since she was what like 8 years old when she was real.
right.
And the fact that she came out really normal shocks me. The fact that like Keenan and Kel like they came out all normal, it's just unless Dan just didn't like colored people, if you know what I mean. I don't know if
Right. I
they did.
feel like it's something where happened between Dan and some of the kids. I feel like he targeted the ones that were like, I wouldn't even say weaker, but the ones that were easily that he could easily infiltrate their lives. Sort of
Exactly.
how like Brian saw like Drake's family wasn't really getting along. The mom and dad didn't like each other, so he saw that was an easy way in, and how like badly he wanted to be in the industry. So like I think they look for stuff like that.
he gives me like Dan Schneider, he kind of gives me that, no one ever knew he was gonna make it, and look, he's like making all these kids' dreams come true. And this is how I know it because Alexa Nicholas, the girl she played Nicole on Zoe 101, you know her, right?
Right. She has a YouTube channel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so I remember following up on that story. She was 12 years old and she got bullied on the Zoe 101 set by Jamie Lynn Spears and the rest of the cast. Now,
Right.
I was on Zoe 102, the reboot movie they did. Jamie Lynn does kind of have an attitude, so I kind of could see what's been going on. But you got to remember,
Right. Why don't you think they didn't go deep into that? Because she's been speaking out about that all the time. She's been doing the protests, everything, but they didn't go into detail about that.
I'm not sure. I'm surprised that they didn't go into it. I really thought since she was going to be on there, she was going to tell her story, but she's told her story so many times. Like she
Right.
2 or 3 podcasts where she actually came out and said, I was bullied. My mom went to Dan directly and said, my child is getting bullied. You need to do something about this. And what Dan would do is saying, like, well, the show is called Zoe 101. Jamie's the star, so we can't really do much about it. Basically brushing it off until it got really bad to where her mom just pulled her off. And we really didn't see much of her acting no more. And that was
Right.
that was really sad. And how this is what confused me. How not one, not two, but it was like what, 4 or 5 pedos working on a kid's set. Like how was they able
That's
to
why I
get?
said it was a crew. Now, did you watch the Tebow interview?
No, I ain't watched it. I said I knew it was gonna be some BS. I saw clips where he wasn't taking responsibility, and I'm like, but you're not understanding what we're going through. He had said something about, I'm sorry if I made people feel bad. This is not just 1 or 2 people saying this. This is a whole berate of people saying that you did this kind of stuff, and it went on for years until you had to tell about some, oh, he never got kicked out. I don't believe that. I think they found out what you were doing in this new age where it's from where technology is a big thing. I feel like if he was still around Nickelodeon, he would have gotten caught. Now
Right.
because everybody has their phones on sets, and no one can be silenced no more. And
Right.
he was like the big person. He is the reason, I hate to say it, here's the reason why Nickelodeon was what it was, and why we have like all those
Right.
our memories.
Nobody's taking that away from him. Now, I've seen rumors of Zoe's baby being Dan's baby. Allegedly, do you think that may be the case?
I don't think so. I want to. I
Because
want to.
that pregnancy, I remember around the time that it happened, it was kept so secret and it was so weird. Even though, of course, she was still young and being a young mom was like shunned at the time. Now it's like
And she was
it's regular, but it was still weird the way it was done. So I wouldn't be surprised if that came out to be true.
But oh God, I really hope that that's not true. I want to hope. They said it was her boyfriend who was 18 or 19 at the time. So I think that's probably why it was kept so secret, because technically he's an adult. So that's what's going on. But oh, I also heard that the girl that played Jade on Victorious, like she was dating the person that was working on the crew. He was 36 at the time and she was 16 or 17 and they were dating. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That's
I
weird.
saw the deep dive videos on that.
That is weird. Like, what is going on? I just don't understand how, like, people, like, how he was able to get away. But I said this to my friend. I said he was kind of like the P Diddy of that time. And you see how stuff is slowly starting to come out about him, about P Diddy, and now he probably will be going to jail. It's happening with Dan Schneider. But I remember hearing about the Drake Bell thing like a couple of years ago. It wasn't confirmed, but I
Right.
remember that he got touched by a man. People kept saying it was Dan. Now I didn't remember hearing that it was Dan. I just remember heard it was a man that worked on his set, and the fact that it
Right.
found out when he was the special guest, I thought it was going to be Amanda Bynes. I said I feel like Amanda Bynes really need to come out and tell her side of the story, because whatever happened, I feel like something happened behind closed doors between her and Dan, and nobody fully truly knows. And if anybody does know, they're just not saying anything.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I feel like it's being like kept like a secret. Like I just feel like Dan is not telling us everything. I feel like he's holding a lot back and he's not telling us everything. He's just letting us know like bits and pieces and trying to prove his innocence, but keeping some stuff a secret. That's what I think is happening.
Yeah. Do you think that he came out with, because that interview came out so quick? You think he said, okay, I need to get a black guy, someone close to me, so I can make myself look good? Do you think that was the reason of him doing that interview with Tebow?
Yeah, and I think because him and Tebow still have like a good relationship, I feel like he picked him out of everybody. That's why I said Tebow to me shouldn't have did that interview because it
It
made
was
him
weird.
look like a coon.
It does. It's like
It made him look
why?
like a coon.
It's like why are you doing? And then like the people that are like defending him, like the Nez Declassified show, like you're like, what was the point of y'all laughing about that? There's no point of y'all
It
just
was in
because
bad. It was in
just
bad
because it
timing. I
happened.
feel like they were trying to make. First, he didn't watch the whole thing. That's the thing. Like people just watch the clips that we see on Instagram. Like that's like 2% of the whole entire thing. If you watch the whole entire docuseries, you're not gonna make any jokes about it because it's really not funny. So that's the problem that he did to begin with because he just watched clips on Instagram and thought that um, it was like a light situation and didn't know like the depth of it. So that was dumb of him to do.
But they got to understand, like, for men, because I know a lot of guys that's went through this. It's hard for boys to come out and say that they've been touched, especially by another man, because it hurts them. So the fact that Drake Bell was finally able to come out himself and talk about it, and I really do hope and pray that him coming out and openly talking about it gives him some help that he does it, because Drake does need some help, because he's been going through stuff, but what, that's coming from years of abuse and nobody helping him. So I really hope that Drake is able to get through this, and people just don't pick on him. Just let him be at peace now, and stop like bringing up. I understand what he did was wrong with that 17-year-old or something. I don't know exactly what happened, even, but I'm not excusing his behavior. But that's just the recurrent cycle. People that are abused at a young age, that's the behavior that they learn, and they end up becoming to themselves, especially when they don't have any help. So I really hope that this is a stepping stone for him to get himself together and get himself in a good place of peace. And that's all I hope. And I just felt really bad. I started tearing up when Drake Bell started saying that story. The
What
fact that he
parts, besides the whole Drake Bell thing, what parts kind of shocked you with some of the stuff that you saw? Because the part that shocked me was some of the racist stuff that they were putting, all that. Like I said, I wasn't a Nick kid, so I didn't know they thought that stuff was like that is crazy.
so
Captain Big Nose. Like that is
I
insane.
I remember that was one of my favorite sketches. That's sad too. Um, it just shocked me that all of that it happened on All That Set. It seemed like the All That Set got it the worst, but it's just
Yes, I
weird
think so too.
how Keenan and Kel just came out so normal, because like there's nothing going. You don't hear them being problematic or nothing like that. And I don't know if it's because Dan didn't pay them no attention. He just paid certain people attention. That's probably what's going on. But it just shocked me
Right.
that all. Oh, and that's what I meant to talk to you about. That mom, Brandy's mom. The fact that she said
Randy's
that she
mom, to
did,
me, she's a little faulty in my opinion because your daughter did not want to be, and I'm not victim blaming, but your daughter did not want to be in the industry. Had you called the authorities or told people, hey, something happened with the guy sending the naked picture, you could have saved a lot of kids before he ended up
that
getting taken down.
yeah, she went and said that. I could be, just correct me if I'm wrong. She said that she didn't want the police to think that she was a bad mom, so that's why she didn't report it. When she said that, I
I'm
almost
like,
threw.
police not gonna think you a bad mom because you did report it. So, like, girl, what the
Like,
fuck? Like,
you have
I
the
just don't
proof.
get her logic.
Like, you have the proof. You have him sending this to your daughter. Had you just took that to the police and say, my daughter is 11 years old at the time, my daughter's 11, and a grown man sent her a naked picture of himself, messing with himself, the police would have went and got him out, got him right then and there. But you worried about people judging you for being a bad mom. People are gonna judge you for being a bad mom because you let a man get away, and and then he was writing in his book saying he's a full-blown pedo, and how he wants to go and find him a kid so he can go do things with them. It's like, huh? What? I didn't
And what
understand.
was
Like,
even sick was the serial killer person. Like, I wonder if there's a way to find out if because Brian Peck is of course still alive. All these people that were in this docuseries are all still alive. I just wonder if he's still talking to that serial killer. So if this serial killer that you guys don't know, if you
oh,
guys haven't watched the serial killers, one of if y'all didn't watch the docu series, one of the guys that was accused of messing with the children on the set, he had a relationship with the serial killer that ended up unaliving kids that he sent letters to back and forth, and that serial killer ended up unaliving kids
mm-hmm.
uh, after touching on them, and he had a relationship with him behind bars, and they were sending letters to each other. I wonder if there's a way to figure out if he's still sending letters to him,
Oh
if
god,
and still in contact with him.
it was that guy that was dressed up as clowns, correct? John Wayne.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
The serial
oh
killer
that's
is not alive anymore. Okay, he's not alive anymore.
But that's just it just blows my mind with these parents because I know how my family is. If that happened to me, my parents would have done something about it. The fact that these parents like care so much about fame and all that kind of stuff that you are like selling your kids out, you letting your kids like then your kids get messed up down the road, and who gets blamed? You do. That's why Tracy Brown, she was smart to get her child out of there. Understand that it may have hurt her, but in the long run, she said, "Son, I did this for you." If most parents thought like that, we wouldn't have these problems.
Right. And also make sure y'all go over there, Tracy, YouTube, and make sure y'all subscribe to her channel. I do like I said in my video, I do remember her from YouTube. Like I used to watch her readings because I'm a weird YouTube watcher. Like I watch a lot of stuff and I watch like psychic readings. And I remember watching her a couple years ago. So that is where I remember her from. Any final thoughts on the series and any other stuff that surprised you?
No, it's just I'm glad that it's sad it's coming out because when you're young you're thinking I've always wanted to be on Disney, to be honest with you, even though I love Nickelodeon. But
Yeah,
the fact
same.
but the fact that all this stuff went out, I think I'm just blessed that I didn't have to experience that. And I do feel bad. I hopefully this gets some closure to a lot of them, and they're finally getting exposed, and hopefully the industry does better because now I don't know how Nickelodeon is gonna do now because Nickelodeon's already like getting bad rep for now, even though those I don't even know if those same people are working for them. But if they want to like in the future not have something like this happen again, they background checks, and make sure
Right.
it doesn't matter who has kind of clout. That should not matter. People's mental health should first come in that. And I'm glad that it came out, and I'm glad that people are getting exposed, and I'm glad that people like Jeanette McCurdy, Drake Bell, Lex and Nicholas, all those kid actors on all that they all have to get their closure.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Kai, for calling in.
All right.
All right, Nate. All right, what's going on, Dimitri?
Okay, can you hear me again?
Yeah. You're good. You're good.
Okay. So yeah, like we were talking, I think it's very crazy, but what's crazy is I was more of a Nick kid than the Disney Channel. I felt like Disney was a little too kiddish for me. Like even growing up, I mean, I would watch it, but I was more into Nickelodeon by far. And it is
Yeah.
always disheartening thinking about this because the first few shows I remember was the Amanda Show that I would always be watching. I remember Ned's Declassify and Zoe 101 and all those. And it's crazy to think that like that really is now like our perception of it is messed up. Even though I was a child, I wasn't thinking nothing of it. But I
Right.
think it's just crazy. It's crazy that like that all this was going on. And I think that's why they don't do any live productions. I don't think anymore, like on Nickelodeon. If you pay, like if you,
Oh
I
yeah.
haven't
Oh
seen
no.
anything. Like, and if it is, it's obviously not created by Dan Snyder anymore. So I think their last one was like 2018. So that's been what, like 6, 7 years now. Like it's been quite a
Right.
long time, since they've had a live action show. They all are cartoons now, but I think it's just to cover up the fact that all this was going on while being like at Nick. So they do that purposefully now that they don't do any other live things.
Now, did
But
you watch
yeah.
the Tebow interview with Dan? And
Yes.
what did you think?
Yes. My first thoughts was, that video of Coco Jones, and she's like, "Oh, you would do it too for a check." I feel like he was
Right.
doing that for. I feel like he was. I think he was doing that for a check, and not.
You think
I want
Tebow
to.
did that for a check?
Yeah, I want to know how much he got paid to do that because you could
Tebow
tell, like, when
done it.
when somebody's like having something to their head, they have that weapon to their head, and they're like,
Yeah.
say what's on the script, and they doing what's as told. I feel like that was him. Like, I feel like this was such a bizarre pairing too, because noting the fact that he was a full grown adult on those shows, he has no place to talk. He has no place to talk. Of course, you're not going to get treated. And I think with Victorious too, most of those people were already 17 going on to 18 that first or second season.
Right.
That that's why I don't think you hear anything crazy about those people and their experience, because at that point they're adults and they're not thinking anything of it. They're like, oh,
Oh yeah.
I'm doing this. because I'm age appropriate, and I don't think they really registered in their heads that like
I think
I'm
the
still
only
playing a
person
child.
from that cast that will say
Uh,
something and that will come against Dan is Victoria.
I don't think so. I
I
don't
think
think
either
so.
her or I forget her name. The one who married the older guy.
Liz Gillies.
I believe that's her name. The one that can
Yeah,
sing besides Ariana. I forget her name.
yeah,
I've been watching for so
Jade,
long.
Jade.
Jade. I feel like it'll be one
Yeah,
of those two.
I don't. I honestly don't think so. I think if
Watch.
that's a tough one. That is a tough one because we know
Because
Ariana's
I
not
don't
going to
think
speak out
Victoria
on
is
it.
too satisfied with her. Because think about it, Victoria was supposed to be Ariana Grande, and look what happened.
But she can't
She's
get
on Ariana.
mad.
You get what I'm saying?
But she can't get mad for that because that's how she paved her career path. She did her career
Right,
path in a completely different way. So she can't blame Nickelodeon for that. Like, yes, there's things that they highlighted and stuff like that, but she could have used what she got to an advantage and take it from there. But that she can't be upset with Nickelodeon for that. Those are also past anything after that, Victorious was her own decision. She didn't go into music like that. You could clearly see
right.
Ariana went full fledged into music, not wanting to do acting like that. And now she's just getting back into the swing of acting. So it's like, I don't know. And then thinking about other stuff that was going on, I think that all that was crazy. I there's a lot just to unpack there.
Did
And
you
I think
watch
that
all that? And do you remember some of the racial stuff that they would do on there or no?
I don't I like I said, my mind is blurred from all that completely. All I know is I remember the Amanda show. Like it was all that, the Amanda show back to all that because the Amanda show had stopped. And I
And
can
the
only
whole
remember the
Penelope
Amanda
Tank
show.
situation, do you remember like ever thinking like that's a weird name or anything like that? Like, was that ever like a weird thing? Because I never watched the Amanda show, so it's like that's on my era. So, do you remember like you being like, "Hey, that's like a weird name," or any friends be like, "That's a weird name," or like, was it
Not
just like
growing up, no, but thinking of it now, like I said, I when watching it, I was like, that is weird. I was like, wait a minute, because you just thinking it's just any other name. Like I'm thinking this is just any other last name, because somebody
right,
out in the world probably does have that last name,
right?
and you don't think nothing of it. So I really wasn't thinking anything of it, but now that everyone's coming out and implying like, oh, this is what it really meant, this is what it was about. And I think, yeah, it's just, it
What
gives me a
bothered me in the
headache.
interview with Tebow, he did not ask him about the humor.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it was all set up on, it was all curated by Dan Snyder. Like that was
Yeah,
on his YouTube page, and he decided to not speak. Like he could have been on camera for that documentary, but he chose not to, and he wanted to take this route so he could clear up his name. And like I said, it's very weird that he's so in denial of all this. The only thing I feel like he did take accountability for, or like at least acknowledged, was the whole situation with Brian Peck. I think Brian Peck was the only thing that and it's the only thing that, as a person watching him, is like, okay, this is the only thing that you acknowledged and you understand. And I think we both all mutually understand it was wrong, but it doesn't take away from everything else you did, because I think he did something with Jamie Lynn Spears and Amanda Bynes, because you have you ever heard of those cryptic messages that Amanda Bynes had put out, and it's like
yeah,
a
on the Twitter,
and
yes,
it's like, oh, Dan did it, but it's spelled in different capital letters, and you have to put
yeah.
the puzzle pieces to really.
Also, if you guys need, okay, there's something I want you guys to watch. If y'all
Mhm.
haven't seen Zoe 101 in a minute. So Zoe did a show called Special Forces on Fox. So it's basically like a military type of show. And she competed on the show, right?
Yeah.
She ended up going home. Guess why?
Why?
She was scared to leave her kids by she was scared to be away from her kids for that a long of time for the duration of the show. So she panicked and quit and went home
And
because she was
that's
scared to leave her kids by themselves with their dad.
with their. I thought
You
she.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
And
and
now that I'm thinking of this, I'm like, wow, like it all makes sense because it was kind of weird her leaving the show. Like Kenya was on her season. Kenya was like, hey, like, don't leave. Like, your kids are fine. They're gonna be taken care of. Like, make them proud, show them that you could complete the show. Da, da, da. And she was like, no, I need to be with my kids. I've never been away from them for that long. I need to be with my kids.
oh
Go watch it
yes.
back. It's on streaming.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, that episode now is like in my mind.
Now it makes sense. Like it's
Yeah.
now making sense. And
Hmm.
I don't know, but she got her own drama that she has her own little drama that she's something else to unpack, but not related to this.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody said, yeah, I remember. Yeah, go back and watch that show. Now, was there anything in the docuseries that sort of surprised you with some of the stories that were told? Like, what stories surprised you the most besides the Drake Bell situation?
I think what surprised me the most was the two ladies talking about they were doing dual salary, and that didn't make no sense because and it's crazy that he's even in the video he denied that. He's like, "Oh, that's out of my control." Yeah, that might not be in your control, but how did it get so far that like this lady's talking about she contacted, the union, and union's talking about what are you talking about? There's no dual salaries involved here. Like you're
Right,
not supposed to be doing no dual salaries. And then on top of that, you calling her and being like, "I'm gonna ruin your career if this was you." Okay, so if it wasn't you dealing with pay, then what's the problem? What that don't make no sense. Then
right.
why are you so pressed and mad
I
about
feel
it
like
and
he
make you
brushed
dress
that
like that?
completely under the rug because he didn't like those two women and then being writers on his show. Like,
We- I
that's what that was.
Yeah, I think that was the most weirdest one yet. Just the things he's making them do, and then on top of all that, just like the whole duel thing. Like, but if that's still weird to me because I'm like, how did you allow somebody to get away with it, and you just happen to call the union, and then you come to find out, like, like you didn't. I
No,
guess it
like
was different
watching the
times.
docuseries, the writers to me are not innocent. I'm not saying they're like villains,
Yeah,
but they're not the most innocent in this story. I'm sorry. Because you
yeah,
guys allowed a lot of these jokes and stuff to sort of go through and like you guys are complacent. It is what it is. So I
yeah,
don't feel a lot of sympathy for the writers, especially Jenny. Some about her rubbed me the wrong way. I'm sorry. She
yeah.
gives me the type that's two faced.
I didn't like how she was telling the whole story about the other girl, and the other girl got
Right. And I'm like, wait,
she
that's
put
not
way
your
too much
story.
business out there. But then again, that's her. If she was there and that was her truth, and that's what she
Right.
observed, like it's not like it was all rumor. She was seeing it with her own two eyes, and she felt like she needed to express that and let that be known and let
Right.
that be put out there, even if the girl confirmed or denied it. That's what she saw, I guess. That's what she. So I mean, I have like I guess sympathy for everybody involved in this, but I think I also have sympathy for the writers because like if the way they're describing it, it didn't seem like they got away with so much. It seems to me that they really didn't have any massive involvement in the show. They were just there to make a quota of at least we're hiring, we're being and like the words of being diverse. Like we have females here that are working on set with us. So you can't be like this is all male and this is discriminatory. Like it to me it didn't seem like they had too much like involvement in the show unless they did what they needed to do to get their little skit in there or anything like that. I think they
Right.
were just there for a quota.
Yeah, I think so too. Any final thoughts?
Um, I'm ready for I'm ready for the next part of this when
You ready
Amanda
for part
Bynes out of
6?
I'm ready for part 6. I think the
Or
attraction
5.6?
I think Amanda Bynes is gonna speak out sometime. Like she's gonna speak up at some point. I think soon. I have a weird feeling somewhere in this year she's gonna end up speaking up, and either they're gonna do like a special extra part to this where it's just her, or she's gonna do some type of podcast or live stream or something, just like Alexis Nikolai, because there's too much going on there, and I think from what I've watched as of recent, she's in a space now. I'm feeling like she's not all the way there, but she's in a place where I think she would speak about this or at least get
Right.
a couple of her thoughts out.
Right.
So
No, I see.
yeah,
Thank you so
crazy,
much for
crazy,
calling in,
crazy.
Dimitri.
No problem. You have a good one. Bye bye.
All right, mate. All right, what's going on, Breezy?
Hey, how you doing, Pierre?
What's up? What's up? What's up? Now you are a teacher, correct?
No, a counselor.
Counselor. Okay, so you
Yes.
work with children, so of course your opinion is extremely valid in this whole situation. What did you think about the docuseries starting off?
Okay, so number one, I just want to thank you for talking about this because we always talk about the other stuff, and I really
Yeah.
we're talking
I
about.
told you I new content on the way. Ain't no more just Zeus crap, child. I'm sick of that crap.
I believe you. So the first thing is, I'm actually taking it from a perspective as I used to watch Nickelodeon. Okay, so now I'm gonna be saying my age. I was actually a real old school Nick fan. I used to
Okay.
watch I started with Ren and Stimpy and Cat Dog, so I'm a little bit older. So it's so
Okay.
weird because I had Paramount and I was watching Ren and Stimpy again, and I was like, oh my god, like this is more like for adults than it is so for kids. So I was like a little tripped out by that, but I think what it was is at the time in the early 90s, because I used to watch All That, but the All That I used to watch had Keaton and Kel. When I saw this docuseries, this is when All That was kind of a little bit later, and I was kind of like not watching it. But
Right.
with Keaton and Kel, what happened was during the time we grew up on In Living Color and like Mad TV. So as a kid, it was really,
I love
really
Mad TV.
right. It was like amazing to see like teenagers do sketch comedy because that was like the first sketch comedy show that was done by teenagers. But the thing is that I don't remember it being so vulgar until these people started talking about it in the docuseries, because when Kenan and Kel was on there, they really weren't that nasty. Like I think it was a little bit more innocent. And I think they kind of switched up when it looks like they switched up when the staff kind of switched up a little bit, because
Right.
now it came like they started hiring more people who had weird kind of like backgrounds and started slipping in like all this pedophilia and stuff like that in it. I just don't recall it being like that when the chunky girl was on there, the girl that was getting chunky and they kicked her off, she looked kind of Asian. They said that they just got rid of her. I forgot her name, but they talked about her briefly with the ponytail. She had like the bangs and she was on all that, and it was like she had to lose
Right.
weight, whatever. It wasn't that bad.
You talking
So
about
it was,
her?
yeah, right. So when she was on that, it was pretty innocent. Like they were kind of innocent. Keenan Cal they really didn't put them out there like that. Like they did Good Burger and they did a couple sketches. It was the one where they had a teacher. She was kind of chunky and older. She was funny. It just wasn't sexual. But then I don't know what happened. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I think they probably started hiring these
This was
people.
the era where it got kind of like murky.
Yeah, that's where I stopped at. I don't know, like I saw them in the docuseries, but I didn't grow up to these kids. So it's kind of murky when it kind of got there. Now, as a child, okay, of course I'm gonna give them the counseling thing, but as a child,
Mhm.
if you see that as a child, you're telling the child that what they're doing and what they're saying is okay. So it kind of makes sense that maybe some of these kids that saw this are a little bit more sexually acting out or a little bit more like not understanding because
Mhm.
of what they thought was a joke as a child, because the way the adults pass is pretty sick, but the way the adults pass through these jokes through these children, the audience that look at that can kind of be sexually acting out because of that, not necessarily knowing what was going on. You know what I mean? So it could have affected a lot of people to this day now at like watching it as a child. Like that's what I was thinking like from that perspective. And it's just kind of bad because it's bad that we're waiting this long to hear this, but I really want to
Right.
know how adults are actually affected by actually watching this, like if they were like thinking certain things were okay and they really weren't. Because I'm seeing like when they started putting like the toes, I saw the toes in people's mouths and things like that. You
Right.
see, you putting your
And that
toes in
was
people's
something they
mouths.
had Kat do a lot. Like every two, I remember episodes watching, like it was always a feet thing with her. And I'm like, this is weird.
So think about a child looking at that. How is that child as an adult now? Are there a woman that was sexually active out? Did she do things like you have to think about what they've created by what they've saw in the future? And it's kind of sick and weird that was actually going on. It really is kind of disgusting, sick and weird. Now Amanda Bynes, I don't think they're gonna get her. I think she wants to move
Neither.
so far. Like she failed her esthetician test like once or twice, and she's not playing. That's the only thing she's worried about. I want about the
I'm
esthetician.
crying.
Like that's the only thing
She worried about passing that test.
suspected that test.
I'm like,
But
son.
but you see the fixation on wanting to be normal.
Yes.
She's
You know what's crazy? A lot of people say that. They said the people that want they said the people that's in the industry want to be normal, and the people that are normal want to be in the industry.
right. But I think Amanda Bynes
Yeah.
has lived through something where she's like, you couldn't pay me to go back into the industry.
I think
Like
so.
that's what that is. Now, I did have a question for you, Pierre. Do you think that Hollywood is kind of like going down? Because we kind of seen like from the Jeffrey Epstein till now. Like, what
Yeah.
do you think
Oh yeah, for sure.
of
I feel like
Hollywood?
this is just the beginning of the exposure. We're gonna find out like 10 times more by the end of this year.
Mm, I wonder what
Now,
that
this
means. Like
somebody
for
I want
like,
to mention. They said, like you mentioned in your video, the episode of Victorious when they were stuck in that hot van. That was cringe. How they had Ariana. Yes, it was ice cream. I knew it was ice cream. It was water. They had her lick ice cream with 4 guys she had just met. I remember. That's what it was. Yes. Yes.
that and
Yep.
that
That's
was
what
the other
happened.
that was another it was kind of like so seeing that and being 10 years old. I wouldn't be surprised if a 10-year-old little girl put ice cream on somebody and licked it off of them just
Yeah.
from watching Nickelodeon. Like that's my like the professionalism coming in. Like what is like what were they
And
doing?
Victorious was so random. Like that episode, she just literally ran into random guys and they had ice cream. And she was like, "Oh my god, I'm so hot. Let me lick
I
it." And
remember
then she just started licking it. And I'm
that.
like,
And we're wondering why we get women that are sexually acting out. We wonder why, like they've been fed that as a child, but again, it started with the top. It started with the people that they hired. It started with that. I think once Nick got bigger and bigger, they started to realize like, okay, we just need people. Now, not to switch over to the Tebow thing, but I did
mhm,
watch the Tebow interview. The one thing I would say is that interview was way too short
way
for
too short.
you to
20
have
minutes is crazy.
20-minute rebuttal for a 4-part series documentary. You
It's
mean each
crazy.
that's almost 4 hours and your rebuttal was 20 minutes? Okay, so once the video started, I knew there was going to be some BS because as soon as he started the interview, he says, "I reached out to Dan." Who are you? like, like you think that as racist as this place was, you think he remembers you and he thought about you
And
and you
what bothers me, Tebow, you was not no regular character, my nigga.
right? He's
You
acting
was
like
a
he was
random pop-up every like 10 episodes. Get the
all
out my face.
rando. That's what made me think like, okay, I was like,
Because
oh,
I
this
watched iCarly.
I, I saw like bits and pieces. That I was a little bit older for iCarly, but I was just like, okay, I was like, this some BS. Like as soon as it started, I was like, okay, this some BS. This some BS because
And I felt bad because I was laughing during the interview. I'm gonna tell you why I'm laughing. That Tebow character was not a character. That is fucking that. What's his name? Debo. That's Debo. Because that's how he acted on the show. So I couldn't stop laughing because I couldn't take it serious. Because I felt like I was watching a skit. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I was like, this is a skit.
and then it was like he was reading cue cards that Dan
Right.
approved. I was
Right.
like, okay. And then did you notice that Dan was like fake crying? He was like, I just feel really bad. And he was like crying with no tears. Like, I was like,
He's an actor, so that crying thing, come on, like get out of here. Anybody who has acting chops know how to make themselves emotional quick. I'm sitting
that,
right here, I could do that too. I'm just saying it's like it's not that hard. So like please don't.
yeah, I just didn't. I was
Please
like,
don't.
you're playing. I felt like he was playing with, I felt like Dan was like playing with us. And I felt like he, like somebody else said, like he knew ahead of time that this was going to come out. And then he was just like, oh, let's just hurry up and do this and then release it as soon as the first see. See, he didn't even let it out on a proper basis. Like he's supposed to wait until the whole entire thing ends and then say, okay, here's my rebuttal. He dropped it the first day. The first day that the 2-part, the first and second part came out, he dropped it before Drake Bell was able to say his story. So it was, you could tell he was already on damage control because I knew once he knew that Drake Bell situation was coming out, I knew he knew that was going to be it for him because
Right.
now I'm gonna be honest. I did grow up to Drake and Josh. That was like
Right.
that was during all that season. That was during that time, and I just kept thinking like Drake was the more nicer, cooler one. But in real life, certain things happened to him. And I was like, that just doesn't make like logical sense because he wasn't like too far off from who he was as an actor. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't too
Yeah.
far off. Like I don't understand the pedo. Like, it really surprised me when he was in that DUI and he was in that situation. I was like, that doesn't make sense because Josh was the wild one. You know what I'm saying? Josh was the chunky, fat one, wild one. Drake was always the level-headed one. And I didn't understand what went between the two of them because they were really, really, really close growing up. And then all of a sudden it went from here to there. So I want to know what happened to their relationship. I really want to get into that. But
Yeah, because the thing is, there's like deep dive videos on it, but I feel like it doesn't tell the whole truth. And I feel like a lot of what happened, like behind the scenes that we're just finding out with the Brian Peck thing, is probably has a little bit to do with it. Y'all, they are not related. Because I Googled it too. I said, wait, if that's his son, that's why they have a bad relationship. But no, they're not related.
no, I think Brian Peck had a massive mind control over Drake.
Oh
And I
yeah,
think it was sick and it was disgusting because, not to say, you could kind of tell that Drake liked women. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could kind of
yeah,
tell like that was where he wanted to go. Like, that was what he was developing to come to be like, okay, because he was all like, he was a heartthrob growing up. I'm not even gonna lie. He took full advantage of that. But it's just like you take advantage of somebody's innocence like this. And like I said, you could just tell by when he got older how he was spiraling out of control. You could just, like, I would be like, a Nick star spiraling out of control. That don't sound right. You know, like, because everybody's talking about how Keenan and Kel came out okay. That's because they probably didn't get touched. They didn't get touched. They didn't get nothing. Nothing happened to them. And trust me, Drake and Josh was on the same, like the same outcome. They were about to be on the same outcome because Josh didn't get. It seems like Josh, nothing happened to Josh, and the same thing had, like, he's on the same level as Keenan and Kel. He's just not famous. But for some reason,
right.
Drake, something was going on with him, and it was
Now,
always
what
questionable.
stories, like besides the Drake Bell story, like what story sort of shocked you that was like in the earlier parts of the docu series, like some of the racial stuff, like more what was it, MJ and Brandy, like what story sort of shocked you?
So the two things were the racial thing because, okay, I will say this. When it came to the, like, if anybody ever noticed, those black people didn't stay on that show very long. They always switched out those black people. It was like here today, gone
Mm,
tomorrow. Unless they were like that Jackson guy who had like his main role. But no, that was one thing. The second thing that got me was the conservatorship. I just couldn't get past the fact that they were infiltrating on those people to get them to get those conservatorships from their parents and how much control they had with that. Like, I just couldn't believe it. Like, I don't know. It's like, I don't want to blame the parent or anything, but I'm just like, you just gonna let your child go? Like, I don't care what my child is saying. I'm not signing no document to get rid of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna have to
right.
go through me. So it was really, it just is really questionable that they were able to do those conservative ships like that. Like, I was just confused about that. Yeah, that's what really got me. But the racism thing, I definitely saw. I didn't see the racism thing. I just knew that they never really kept black people like that. It was just Keenan and Kel, and then everybody was in, like the Jackson kid, and then everybody else was indispensable. It was like, here today, gone tomorrow. Here today, gone tomorrow. Here today, gone tomorrow. It was like, oh, okay, this is kind of weird.
Do you feel like anybody else is going to speak out from other shows, like maybe from Victorious, maybe from iCarly? Do another person that that might speak out, Andre from Victorious. Do you feel like he might speak up into anything? Like, who do you think that hasn't spoken out that will speak out later on?
I think Josh Bell's gonna say something.
Hmm.
I think Josh is gonna say something. I don't think because like I said, I'm a little older, so I don't think Keenan and Kel. I wouldn't be surprised if the chunky, I don't know. I wonder what the chunky girl, the one that used to be the lunch lady, what her experience was, because I don't know. She was a little bit older, but like I said, they were nicer to them when they were younger when I was watching it. Except, and
Right.
then started to get a little bit more weird. Like, I feel sorry for the people that have been younger than me, because I wouldn't be surprised if all y'all sexually acting out growing up. So yeah. So yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts?
No, that's about it. Like the video.
All right, Nate. All right, I'll make sure you guys please hit that like button, please. Okay. Also, this was the scene which I just looked up now that I was talking about. So here's Ariana. She was stuck in a hot van. Mind you, these boys are strangers that she came into contact with. They started spraying her with water guns. I'm gonna skip through it. and then they bring her ice cream and they have her lick it. It doesn't get weirder there. I mean, it doesn't stop. The weirdness doesn't stop there. She licks it, and all of a sudden, she's sitting in his lap, and they're doing pottery in the hot ass sun. How does that make any sense? I remember watching this as a kid. Like, I didn't think anything such, but I was like, this is weird. Like, I didn't get it. Like, it didn't click for me. So that's the episode I was talking about. All right, what is going on, Indigo?
Hey, can you
What's
guys
up?
hear
What's up?
me?
What's up?
I was gonna say, as a person who really liked Nick and Disney, I was really mortified when I seen the clips and part of the interview. Because I'm
Hmm.
just like, in every industry, we're seeing that child exploitation was at the forefront. And I think what we're realizing is how complicit adults are in like using children as a stepping stone for financial stability. I feel like even
Right,
though kids have big dreams and aspirations, for you to basically sell out your child so that you can live a great life and then also your kids don't end up being able to enjoy any of the money from their labor and be able to be financially stable. Like in the chat, I think somebody brought up like Shirley Temple and some of these
hmm,
young child actors that like as babies they were being like coerced by older men and everything else. So I feel like the Drake Bell situation was really sad because as a person who really liked Drake and Josh, when certain comments were being made about him and you see the way he portrayed himself on the show, it was just like it wasn't making sense. And
right.
I was gonna say Victorious was very, very weird. And I feel like Ariana Grande really does need to say something because it's like the way they
Yes.
portrayed her on that show was so sick. And you
She
also
got it
bringing
the
up the
worst
fact,
out of everybody.
and I feel like they just hypersexualized her so much because they portrayed her to be innocent, but they was like, it's like they were
It was
selling her
basically
to
like a
older
little
men.
schoolgirl, those little nasty schoolgirl corns that get with older men. That's the vibe that her character was, literally.
It was really bad. And I think also the one with the black boy that they had him like as big nose, I felt like that one was also weird towards black people because it's like, how are you being racist and hypersexual at the same time? I felt like that was kind of really scary. And him talking about how he was uncomfortable playing that role. I think the problem
Right,
now is how are these people going to be able to comfortably kind of come out and speak about these things? Because I feel like knowing people who have been like sexually abused and all that kind of stuff, it can be really embarrassing. It's one thing to kind of go to your family and your family not believe you, but for everybody in the world to be able to like see you in 4K trying to like explain your situation and people questioning you about why you didn't speak out earlier or like kind of looking at you weird, everywhere you go, it's like people are gonna kind of be victimizing you, and you kind of just want to have a
right,
normal life. So I hope that they kind of now take a deeper look into like child actors and the work environment and having therapists and like parents also being more involved. Like you can't drop off your child at a set and just leave and then come back when they finish working. Like that's not a
right.
teenager working at McDonald's or something like that. That's a whole kid being around a whole bunch of adults. Kids have to
That are
eat and
strangers.
stuff. Like, why are you not supervising and watching like the food that they eat, which adults they're interacting with? I feel like the adults weren't even trying to develop a relationship with the people who are on set so that they could kind of discern who should be around their kids. It was kind of like, oh, my kid's going to be our meal ticket out of poverty. So I'm just going to leave them here. They'll be fine because they're the professionals. And it's just like, you're a parent. You're supposed to
Right.
be there every step of the way. And if this kid is the reason why you're able to afford your home and everything else, you're trying to make it seem like your other job is bringing the bread and butter when you know the real checks is coming from the kid. Why are you
Speaking
not
of
on the
that,
set?
yes. So Drake's mom, a lot of the viewers are blaming it, including myself a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, for some of the stuff that happened to Drake. Of course, it's still Brian Peck's fault because he's a disgusting bastard. But a lot of the viewers feel as if had Drake's mom been a little bit more hands-on and been more attentive instead of um going with Brian and some of the stuff that he was telling her and making sure that the dad wasn't in Drake's life, that some of the stuff that happened to Drake could have been prevented. What do you think about that?
I feel like I agree, and I feel like this also goes to show with co-parenting. Even if your relationship does not work out with your partner, if you have a child with somebody who's willing to be involved in the child's life and has the child's best interest, you don't try and use the kid as a way to get back at the person because you feel like your relationship with the person didn't work out. So now I'm using the child to get even with you, because it's just like, look at all the damage it's caused just because you were trying to prove a point to the dad. Now your child is never going to be the same again anymore, and it's like now you are going to be accountable because you were the one who was more present because you didn't allow the father to be around. And it's like now you don't want to take accountability, but you had a role in the father not being involved.
Right.
So I just feel like it's sad, and I feel like she does owe her son an apology, and I feel like they need to sit down and really have a conversation, because I don't know if he actually has kids already, but if you're going to be a grandparent and like your child feels that you put them in a situation for them to be sexually abused, you can only imagine how your child feels about you being an active grandparent in their current children's lives because of your negligence. So
Right. Someone said when the dad gave her specific instructions about Brian, it was her job to at least watch to see what he was saying. That's why I say she's a little partially to blame, because I feel like she was so vindictive into getting Drake's dad out of his life that it actually did more harm than good. Now, what parts surprised you in regards to some of like the parent stories in the situation? Like, what about MJ and Brandy's story? Do you feel like she should have reported what happened to the police, or do you feel like she did the right thing by waiting until something happened and then cooperate?
I was gonna say, even though I believe she should have said something early, the reason why I understand why she didn't is because I would say back in that time, anytime you expose something and you don't have a bunch of people backing you up, they're either gonna try and make you look crazy, try and
Right.
off you, put you in a situation where you appear to be mentally stable and uncrazy. I would say because of the history of those producers trying to become the people who are in control of the conservatorships of children, I felt like she didn't have the support that she needed to go in and like really make an impact, because I feel like back then I don't think all of these kids would have been ready to come out about what they were talking about, because some of them couldn't even
Right.
tell their parents. So imagine her being the
Right.
only one to say something and the kids want to agree, but at the end of the day the parents are still the ones who are like the main spokespersons for these children. So if the parents say, "Oh, my kid's not saying anything," like even like if you look at in media with music, like the Jackson 5 and everything else. A lot of people knew Michael Jackson and all these other kids were being abused, but because we were being entertained, like people didn't really care that much until we saw like the after effects of the abuse and where all the source of the entertainment came from, like the dark side of it. So I feel like I understand why she didn't do it. And those people are very connected with like people like in police enforcement and everything else. Cause it wasn't like it was one person. You have to think about it. If there's like 10 pedophiles or whatever on a whole set, it's like, and they all have big connections within the industry. It's like they've all networked with people who are gonna vouch for their character. So it's just
Right. And
like
that's why
it's
he has
you
so many
versus
letters of
them.
support.
And they're also men. It'd be different if it was like women, but I feel like her being a woman going against that many men is like when she went for the job to bring her kid, it's like they know her address. They collect all this information because they're the ones who are paying you. Anybody could have like came to her house and like, did something. So it's just like if they weren't scared to do that to kids on set, imagine them having your personal information and being able to dox you or get like a celebrity hitman, like when they were talking about Chris Rock and all these other celebrities who had like specific type of like hitman or like criminal men that they would have like when women would make accusations against them to like shut
Right.
them up or not say anything. So I think now because of like technology, cell phones, now if you make an accusation against somebody, it's easier for you to have physical evidence of somebody having done something, because back then you would need a witness to be able to
Right.
like back up your story. And some people would say they would testify or say something, and then as the date gets closer, maybe they made an offer to that person and gave them an amount of money that would change their life situation. So it's just like between saying the truth and potentially getting a person convicted versus saying the truth, the person doesn't get convicted and they can come after you and then getting money. It's like it put people in like a really weird moral compass where it's like you want to do the right thing, but you're also trying to survive. I feel like now with the internet and everything else, it kind of creates a support system for these people. So I definitely
Right.
do empathize.
Yeah, I agree. Any final thoughts?
Um, I would say these people need therapy, and I think that they need to do a class action lawsuit. And I think if there's anybody else who's still connected to these people, or some of them who are still actively working within the industry and never ended up going to court or being tried or actually like convicted of everything, I think the rest of the people should try and go the Jane Doe route, and then more people need to put in anonymous tips and maybe create an organization, because I think there's so many other people, but because of them feeling like ashamed or embarrassed, they probably won't say anything. But I definitely do think they need to be compensated, and Nick either needs to be dismantled or needs a complete rebrand.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much for calling in.
You're welcome. And everybody like, subscribe, and stay tuned on the channel because a lot of great things are happening here. And I love your channel, by the way.
Yeah, that way. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, make sure I hit that like button, please.
That smoke you want, you just lit up that. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, because I thought I was like, say, what? How that?
Okay. I somebody earlier was like, what do you guys want Ariana to exactly say? I just feel like she needs to put a statement out that says that she sympathizes with some of the stuff that the people went through. But it could be of two reasons why she's not saying that. One, because her management is not letting her to, or two, she could have went through some of those same exact stuff that some of those people were saying on that docuseries. So it's either one or two reasons she's not speaking out. I did see that comment though. Like, hey, what is going on, Naya? Not ready. Okay, what is going on, Asha?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, well, I do have a most like sorry. I really wanted to speak on the Ariana part just
Hmm.
because while I do understand what people are saying, just like given her stardom and all of that, I feel like regardless of anything, it's wrong to urge victims to like come out and speak on something that they might not be ready to speak about. And she has such a big platform and so many eyes on her that could just like, it just feels like a muddy water to be like, oh, you have to say something, you have to say something. Like Drake didn't say anything until now, and that happened over like
10 plus years ago. That is a good point.
yeah. So to be like, oh, you say something, speak on this, when we have the videotapes, we know that she was put in some sticky situations, is kind of just, I don't know, I don't see that for her. But also something that I've known for a while now, one of her best friends, Liz Gillies, the girl who played Jade, she's
Hmm.
now married to one of the producers, I think, for the music on Victorious. And he's like in
Hmm.
his 50s or something like that. Like, as soon as she turned 18, they started dating. And I've always thought that that was kind of weird. And then they got married like shortly after that. So I don't know, I've always sort of been aware of the fact that there's some weird stuff going on in Nickelodeon. Like, I grew up watching a lot of that sort of stuff and remember being in school and people being like, oh yeah, no, but like Dan Schneider has a foot fetish and that's why they do all that weird stuff with this. Like, it was just really normalized. And that was
Right.
just kind of weird.
And what she's referring to, you guys, is Liz right here. This is who she's married to now. She was on, of course, Victorious, if you guys don't remember. And this is the guy she's married to. So he was probably around what, 40s, 30s when she turned 18.
Yeah, like a lot older than her, and they worked together on the set. Just it's pretty weird. I I remember like growing up and when they used to do those like Disney sweepstakes and stuff so that you could get a chance to be on the show. I used to beg my mom every single time, like, please take me, I want to go, I want to go. I'm so glad that
Right.
didn't
You're
I'm
like
so
glad that didn't
glad.
go through. Right.
Yeah. just I mean, I feel like although I want people to speak out, I feel like the follows and the little things like that show sort of what side that they're on.
Support, yeah.
The only person who I really do think needs to say something is Josh Peck, but mostly just because he's been on TikTok like recording himself to weird sounds and like just acting weird about the
He
situation.
did speak. He did reach out to Drake. That's what Drake said, and Drake said to keep off of him, like be nicer to him because he did speak out. So
Mm.
just to let you know,
Because last I heard on like his podcast, he was still a big advocate for Dan Snyder. Like, because this has been going on for years, like rumors of Nickelodeon and stuff. And I've seen him on things where they've asked him about it, and he's like, we still have like a really good relationship and things like that. Or at
right?
least last I heard, I could be wrong, but the whole system is messed up. The whole system is messed up. That Amanda Bynes irked me. Why is she on set hugging on this man and massaging him and nobody's asking questions? And I think
Right.
that probably because of her whole history, they glossed over it. But I think that it's really weird that they segued from like the massages and their very close relationship to her trying to get emancipated and like
hmm
his role in that. I feel like there was probably more to that story that we don't know. Cause
What surprised me is Sam not doing the documentary because she already has said some things in her own book. So the fact that she didn't do this docu series, that kind of shocked me too. What do you think?
I think she's done her part. Like
Yeah.
she was a big pioneer in the whole like bringing attention to the situation and sort of putting eyes on it. So I like in the book, my friend read it. I didn't read it, but he was telling me about a lot of different stuff that she said in it. So I think that she's kind of just like wiping her hands of the situation, which I get. Like it seemed like a super traumatic time for her, like not just with Dan Schneider, but all the stuff with her mom.
Right.
So yeah, I don't
Now,
really
what part
expect.
surprised you besides the Drake Bell situation? Speaking of Drake Bell, this is what he had to say about Josh Peck.
Hey, what's up, guys? I just want to clear something up. I've noticed a lot of comments on some of Josh's TikToks and some of his posts, and I just want to let you guys know that this is really, processing this and going through this is a really emotional time, and a lot of it's very, very difficult. So not everything is put out to the public, but I just want you guys to know that he has reached out to me, and it's been very sensitive, but he has reached out to talk with me and help me work through this, and has been really, really great. So I just wanted to let you guys know that and to take it a little easy on him.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's what he said a little bit earlier in regards to the whole situation.
Oh,
Now,
that makes me sad. It's all so
yeah,
sad. I mean, like what surprised me most, I guess I thought that not that Jeanette McCurdy wasn't a part of it, but I thought that
mhm,
Daniela Monet
right,
probably should have had some things to say. I think that they should have had somebody from Victorious if they could have got it. Because I think
right,
that around the Victorious iCarly era are when things started to get really weird. Also, Gibby, like the
right,
whole remember that clip of him and it was like this was supposed to be a stuntman and it wasn't a stuntman. It's when he fell from the ceiling
right,
and like body flopped onto the floor.
right.
There's just so much stuff like I don't know. I wish they could have gotten somebody from every show, but to be honest, I think that the documentary was pretty thorough and like I don't have
They
any
did a
like
great
necessary
job. They really
complaints.
did do a great job with the storytelling. Like that, they did their big one with that docuseries because it's like you learned a lot that you really didn't know before, unless you really did your like deep, deep, deep research. There was some stuff that like I was shocked at. So they did a great job with the docuseries. I hope they maybe do a follow up with other stars too, and do like a part two. And if they could do a Disney one, that would be amazing. But I don't know if Disney will even allow that to even come to light
Yeah, no,
because
Disney is
they're a
ironclad.
lot more powerful. Yes.
You are not like you cannot get through the Disney machine. Like they will stop everything to not have that come out.
Yeah.
But
Like, and I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
if it was to be possible, Chelsea would probably do it from That's So Raven because she even made a TikTok saying that she can't wait till her NDA expires. So who knows what she has to say? Yeah. Any final thoughts?
No, I'm really happy that you're covering this, by the way. I love the way that your channel is just like expanding.
All right. Thank you. I love that y'all noticing that. Thank you. Night. One person that she just mentioned, the caller just mentioned, is Danielle Monet. Now, she was on Victorious. If you guys don't remember, she played Trina Vega. They said this was in 2022. She says that it's the latest Nickelodeon star to claim her time at the Children's Network was not entirely wholesome behind the scenes. The actress who played Trina Vega on Victorious from 2010 to 2013 discussed her perspective on the work conditions faced by young actors under former network Dan Schneider. Though her time on the show was, for the most part, very PC, funny, silly, friendly, chill, she told Insider there were moments every once in a while that made her feel uncomfortable. Do I wish certain things like Demi didn't have to be so sexualized? Yeah, 100%. She pointed to a specific scene in which she had to eat a pickle while applying lip gloss. After filming, she told Insider she reached out to Nickelodeon executives, expressed concerns that the scene may be too sexual to air on the show. Despite her concerns, the network opted to air anyways, Monet told Insider. I'll try to see if I can find that scene. I think I remember which scene this one is. What is going on, Cinnabons?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
Oh, I'm so excited. So I have so much to say. I'm trying to figure out exactly my thoughts. So I really want to start with the whole Josh Peck and Drake. So I
Mm-hmm.
noticed that Josh Peck has always had this weird animosity towards Drake, but I think that's because when they were younger, of course, through their developmental years, Josh was
Mm-hmm.
the butt of the jokes. He was
Right,
always the fat jokes. Those were lazy times. If you were black, let's
right,
make black jokes. If you were fat, let's make fat jokes. If you were a girl, let's make you're stupid, whatever, what have you.
right. Sexist
And
jokes.
basically. And
Right,
I think that Josh took that to heart when Drake really viewed him as a true friend. So when Drake wasn't invited to his wedding, he took that personally, and then they had this huge rift. And I feel like when they tried to have the reboot,
mm-hmm.
and Josh was ahead of it. He called it Josh and Drake. And he wanted to be the exact opposite. He wanted Drake to be, the adult who peaked in high school. He was a loser. He was broke, this, that, and the third. And Josh be, the nerd that leveled up, that had more money. And Drake wasn't feeling that because he's like,
Right,
why would you want me to be the butt of the joke? And in Josh's mind, he's like, well, that's what I was all these years.
right,
And I feel like he's always had that animosity towards him. And I think now he reached out to Drake just because he recognizes that everybody views Drake as his victim. Because he is, to a certain extent. He really is. He's also an
yeah,
abuser in his own right, but we'll leave that where it's at.
yeah,
Um, but I feel like because of this, he's always had this weird animosity towards him. That's why he said all those like weird TikToks and sound bites and this, that, and the third. Because even when he was defending Dan Schneider, of course you'll defend Dan Schneider. You were a fat white straight kid. He related to you.
right. He loved you. Cinnamon, is he still there? You
Yes,
muted
I'm so
yourself.
sorry.
Yeah, you just muted yourself.
I'm so sorry. So it was just a terrible thing, and I noticed. I really wish Amanda Bynes would come and speak out because everybody wants to know what's going on with her because she reminds me so much of Britney Spears, and I think Britney Spears, she was such a Disney kid. Her, Justin Timberlake, there was a lot of young stars that were, whatever may have happened to them. I can't speak because that's their story to tell. But even with all that, I'm sorry, this might sound jumbled, but even with all that, I remember back in 2016, the first person who actually spoke out about all that was Angelique Bates. Angelique Bates, she had talked about how her mother was very physically abusive, and everybody on set knew. And nobody
Mm-hmm.
said shit because there was a lot that was going on set. She never
Right,
specified what, but I was like, oh, all that? Like, this is my childhood. I never watched Victorious, but I watched all that. I watched iCarly, I watched Amanda Show, and I watched Drake and Josh. I feel like
right.
Victorious,
Now, do you
I was
remember
too old
some
for
of the
that.
racial stuff that was on all that?
Yes. And looking back, I didn't realize it was racial because we're children. We don't view race the same as an adult would.
Right,
We just see jokes like either it's funny or it's not. And if it's funny, we'll laugh, whatever, what have you.
Now the Captain Big Nose. Did you remember that? Because that was crazy. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Captain Big Nose. And even then, when they showed the clip of him, I was like, you are going to put this prosthetic on this black child and exaggerate his nose? You might as well have called him a jigaboo. Please stop.
Right. That's why I was
Please.
surprised they didn't name Captain Jigaboo. I'm like, wait a minute.
Not Captain Porch Monkey, please. Like, it was just terrible. But there was so much that was going on back in those times. And even, oh, the clip with Leonardo DiCaprio. When I saw that, it freaked me out when Brian Peck was rubbing his arm. And I'm like, is that why Leonardo DiCaprio can't date anybody past 25? Is that why? Can we talk about it? No, I don't know. But
Yikes.
once again, that's
Yikes.
not something
Yikes.
else I
Yikes
can
on
say.
Mike. No, you hitting on points though. You hitting on points. Now, what story surprised you besides the Drake Bell situation? The MJ story, in regards to the Brian Peck writing the serial killer. Like, what parts kind of shocked you besides the Drake Bell situation?
The people who were on the side of Brian Peck, all these people writing notices, and they're all trying to come out like, oh, we didn't know. We didn't know. Anytime a child accuses a man or a woman, I'm not going to specify because it does happen. Anytime a
Yeah,
child accuses an adult of sexual misconduct and that or sexual abuse of that way, you don't want to do your own research. You're instantly going to side with the adult just because you know them. I don't care who you are.
and not even
If
that,
any,
he was caught on voice recording
he
admitting it.
was,
So it's not even an
oh,
accused
are we being
at this
recorded
point.
right now? Yes. Please, please. I'm like, please, just hang it up. Like, and they're
Yeah,
all trying to come out like, oh, we're so sorry. We had no knowledge of this. You were 35. I am 26, and I know for a fact anytime a child is saying that this person did something to me, I will believe that child 10 times out of 10, first and foremost.
right.
It's
Because no
like
kid
you're
just thinks of something and lying on something like that so deep for no reason. Because that's embarrassing for them
it, yes, and they're
as
trying
much
to
as it's for
save
the
face.
adults. Right.
Just like that whole interview. I didn't watch the interview with T-Bone and Dan Schneider. I don't care what he has to say. I'm so sorry. Because even the little quotes that he had, they were basically trying to deflect. Like, everyone saw what I did. I had several people sign off on it, which was true. I will give him that. That was very much so true. It does not mean that you were not wrong. It just means other people were wrong with you. Boom.
Right.
Simple. Like, I feel like,
Now, did you watch iCarly and know who Tebow is?
yeah, of course. I know he was the nigga with the bagels.
Right. So, did it shock you to? Because I know you say you didn't watch it, but did it shock you to see that he was the one interviewing him? Because that part shocked me.
Oh no, I watched iCarly. I just didn't watch Victorious. That was the only one I didn't watch.
Right. It
Um,
just shocked me because I felt like he was being used, and I don't think he knows he's. I feel like now his family probably telling him, "You know that nigga used you, right?" Because like watching it in full, I want you to watch it after you get off of this. It's only 20 minutes. You can tell he was very much used. It is sad.
I'm not going to give him that much grace because I feel like he's old enough to realize the game, especially as a black actor in Hollywood. He should
Yeah.
understand when someone's a token, when someone's being used for something, because he understood, like, hey, I'm a token funny nigga that just pop in for a joke or two and then I'm gone. Nobody really knows anything about my backstory of T-Bone, whatever, what have you. I just show up with the bagels, I make you laugh. And I feel like he probably hasn't had that much work done in a while. So he's like, I'm going to take what I can get. Or at least that's what
Right.
I'm initially thinking. I could be very much so wrong. I will happily say when I'm wrong. But I'm not going to give him that much grace because I feel like he's
I
old
think it was
enough
the
to know
check.
better.
I think it was a fat check to do it.
Thank you. And I'm
Yeah,
going
I
to be
think it was a
honest,
huge
I don't
fat
think
check.
Dan Schneider would pay. I was about to call him a nigga again, but I don't think he would pay a black person that much because that's why I feel like a lot of the women on set. Oh, that thing with the ladies where they had to split the check, and that one
The
lady with
writing.
the longer
Yes.
hair, and it like told the story for the other lady. That was so mean
Her name is
spirited.
Jenny. I don't like Jenny. I'm sorry. Let's talk. Let's bring up pictures because we talk
Let's
about these people.
bring them
Her
hoes up.
right here. I don't like
That was
her.
I don't like her either. That was so mean spirited. I could tell that Dan pinned them against each other
Against
to
each
where
other.
they
Yes.
so that where
Yes.
they had to like compete. Like, oh, whoever makes me
You
laugh
can
hardest gets
tell
30 extra
Dan
dollars.
Christy was not Dan's favorite, and that's why she was let go first. And Jenny would probably play both sides and was two-faced and would kiss Dan's ass until she didn't like some of the stuff that he would do to her.
But I'm gonna say
But
something. It might gag you.
that's what I think.
So
Uh-huh.
I've always had this theory about how fat men hate fat women, and that's why when he got found out, when he got called by the Writers Guild, he immediately
Yes.
went to her and said, "Bitch, did you tell them?"
Right.
Because he knew it was her. He knew it was her. And I'm like, but I've always had that thought. Fat women, I'm like, fat men hate fat women. They truly do. But
Oh
I'm,
man.
I'm trying to think, is there anything
I
else
was
I could?
also surprised that Mr. Dan's weight lost. Okay. Mr. Nigga took Ozempic.
I know
You ain't
I'm
slick.
not surprised by that. Because what do you have to do after everyone outs you? People hate you. You suck. You can't go out to eat in public no more. So you can't order all the Chick-fil-A, all the Wendy's, all the McDonald's you fucking want. So people see you. So you gotta cook at home. You gotta stay at home. You bubbly bitch. You gotta stay at home.
Hey now, where are you two? Okay, now I also want one last thing I wanted to ask you. Who do you think that hasn't spoken out before that you feel like is going to speak out, either from any cast, from Victorious, like Carly, all that?
Hmm. I feel like I should have expected this. I've been listening this entire time and I ain't thinking the answer
Mhm.
yet. Um, I want to say Amanda Bynes, but no. Let me really think first for a second. I
I do
wanted to.
not think she will speak out. I'm surprised you guys are saying that. She does not want to be involved in anything with Hollywood. She's made that a lot clear a lot of times. I don't think she's ever gonna say anything.
Her and Jeanette McCurdy. If anyone has read her book, she said, I don't want to be in front of the cameras. I want to be behind it. In fact, she even said something about how they had made an agreement where she was supposed to film, she was supposed to be director of a few episodes of Victorious, but Ariana Grande didn't want that. And they told her, hey, we know we promised you this, but we changed our mind because someone said that they won't film, quote unquote, someone. But
Right.
anyway, I wanted to be someone who like either hired people or I don't know. Maybe it'll be some other parent or no, I don't want it to be a parent. For someone who's high of importance, like someone who someone didn't expect, like someone who been working on Nick through across a lot of shows, or even someone who's been a trainer or director, which those people they do not get the sympathy that they really want from me. I'm so sorry. You were grown as hell watching watching these kids be abused. Please
Right.
stop.
That's why I don't feel a lot of sympathy for the writers. I do, but then again, I don't. I'm sorry. It's because I could see they were complacent a lot, especially Jenny. I'm on your ass, Jenny. No shade. Like I just feel like no, some of them were really complacent, and like it's like when things got bad for them, that's when they're like, oh my god. But it's like, come on now, it wasn't bad when you feel me.
Like
That's what I think.
if the only time you're outraged is when you abandon ship, no one cares what you're saying because you really weren't there when it mattered. You weren't there at
Right,
the height of what you had. And even then, as the women, y'all had no height. Y'all was splitting checks. Please stop. and
right.
and this isn't even trying to be harder on the women. It's just I feel like so many people failed all these people. Their parents failed them. Their agents failed them. The people on stage failed them. The writers failed them. The directors failed them. So many people failed them.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
it's
sad.
just
Any final
sad.
thoughts?
Um, damn, my mind's blank. I say like and comment, subscribe, turn on the post notifications.
Period. Night. All right, what is going on? Black as hell.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, yay. So I want to first off and say this has been really triggering for a lot of people. Like I've been like trying to talk to like friends and family about this and they're like, this is a bit much. Like it's
Right.
very triggering. Um, so like
Let's
as
start off with the Drake Bell situation. Like, were you surprised at the revelation? And also, did you watch the interview with Tebow?
I didn't watch the interview. I saw clippets. I didn't want to watch the interview. I was so disgusted that he did it because I'm like, I don't even know who he is. I had to look him up. And I'm like, out of everyone, I was like, I don't
Oh,
need
you didn't know
to.
who Tebow was?
No. And I'm like, out of everyone, you're going to have him interview. And I already knew what it was about after that. So I was like, I'm not even going to watch. But what surprised me the most about this Drake Bell was that his girlfriend's mother was the one who peeped something. Like that
Right.
gave me chills. Like, for someone to just notice, like, whoa, it's like, God bless her heart, because it's like,
Yeah,
how
for
many
sure.
red flags has been in other adults' lives to notice stuff. Even the dad said, like, I peeped stuff and made me uncomfortable. So it's like, out of everyone, the girlfriend's mom is the one who's like, I need to see what's going on.
Right.
That was like chilling to me. Um,
Like the fact she said, "Come in the room," like what's going on? Like,
yeah.
yeah, that part was sad.
And it's like, God bless her heart. And I know he probably like is thankful for her, because it's like, where would he be, or where would anybody be right now if that didn't happen, you
What
know?
do you think about the mom in the whole situation? Because a lot of the viewers are blaming the mom for not being as assertive and attentive to Drake and all of this whole situation, and sort of blame
Oh,
her
I blame
for it.
her to 100%. Because if I'm a mother, if someone is saying this makes me uncomfortable, because the dad said, okay, whatever you do, this is a situation, I'm gonna watch that situation just because
Right,
someone brought it up. Even if
right.
I don't care if someone's like overreacting. If you bring up, say someone is acting funny, I'm going to be watching, and I'm going to like, what is being extra careful? What does that do?
Right.
Taking
Especially in
that
that
extra
way,
step.
because the way that the dad described it, he told the mom that he feels like it's something weird and going on it's in a sexual manner. It wasn't like, oh, he's talking bad about him. No, it's like he's touching him and I don't like it. Like that
Exactly.
isn't something that you're like, oh no, you're being over dramatic. Like, come on now.
But like someone else, other people have said, when parents are wanting to live out their dream, they decide to ignore things or see things because, oh, my child is having this like star, the dad is jealous, or they convince themselves other things. But I totally blame her. I totally blame her. And she should sit there and blame herself, because you took him from the dad who said something about it, and look, it was right. He was right.
Yeah.
you know
It's sad. And I do wish she was a part of the documentary. I know some people feel as if she should have kept private, but this is a big moment in his life, and he's revealing something that he hasn't told the world in like decades, and probably his families don't even know. So the fact that she wasn't there to like support him, I think it was telling.
Telling, well, because she
Very telling.
probably is very feels very guilty and is
Yeah.
shameful. She wouldn't want to get up there. I'm surprised the mom of the little girl who said that man sent that video of him doing what he was doing to her young daughter, and she did nothing. I'm surprised she came up on and admitted that. That's disgusting. I don't care what it's about. A grown man sent that to your child. She wasn't even 10 yet. 2 digits. That's disgusting.
Yeah, it was nasty to watch.
It,
She has a lot of like gusto to go up there and admit that, because a lot of people wouldn't have did that. Like, y'all know that designer who had her hands, we didn't see her face.
oh, exactly.
She had
Well,
her hands like, the movie. It's like a movie called Hands, where like all the movie is just hands moving around. All we saw was her arms and hands and her cloth, and we don't even know what she looked like. She
oh,
didn't even show her face. So the fact that mom showed her face, like, that took a lot of bravery, because some people would never do that.
well, I still am looking at her like, like, why didn't you go to the police? That's horrible. If someone did that to my child, I'd be so angry. The police
Yeah.
would be the least of his worries.
Yeah. Now, what part of it, besides the Drake Bell thing, sort of surprised you? Of course, and also this mom situation. Like, were you surprised at any of the racial stuff, and also some of the clips that they showed between the docu series? I don't know if you were watching earlier. I even showed a clip of something that was shown in Victorious, where she's doing like a, what's it called? The in the middle of the sun, like a sculpting thing, sitting on the boy's lap.
Yeah, see, I was a Disney kid, And then
Same.
also when Wizards of Waverly Place and Victorious, all these came out, I was a little bit older. So like Zoe
Right.
101 was up when I was younger. And I used to wish I was Zoe 101's best friend because I was obsessed with Britney
Yes.
Spears. Yes. So
Everybody wanted to
seeing
be on that campus.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So seeing this, but I'm like, dang, I wish you guys would have talked more about Zoe 101. I'm like, really? You guys, that's it? You're not going to talk more?
They skimmed. That's why I said we need a part 2. They skimmed over Victorious in detail. They skimmed over iCarly in detail, and they skipped over Zoe 1 in detail. We got a lot of all that and Amanda Bynes show in detail.
Like you said with the Amanda Bynes, they kind of jumped over the conservative and then bloop, and then this, and then it's like, okay, but what was between Amanda and the conservative ship, and like what was their relationship to get to that? Yeah,
They're missing people there that were there to tell the story. So if they had people that are if they had a lot more people that are willing to participate in the docuseries, I feel like it would have been like 6-7 parts.
And then did you see, you know, the Salone Bell, the Bella, the psychic? You know her?
Yes.
Did you see her video that she did about this situation?
You're talking about Tracy Brown?
No, Salone Bell, the one who came out with the Kim Porter stuff, the white lady with the blonde hair, psychic.
Oh, and she had like that little wrap around her head?
No, it's just like short blonde hair.
You gotta send me that because I seen a video.
I will. Because she was talking, and she was talking about those subliminal tweets that and other stuff, but the subliminal tweets that Amanda Bynes put out, and I guess she said something about John Travolta doing something to her, and I was like,
somebody just said, Pierre, do you think the guy from the last scene in the last scene from the first or the second episode, do you think he knew? I guess I feel like you're talking about him. Here's another one that I'm not too keen with because you were there.
Which one, the director?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
And what bothered me, he seemed sad that he did not have a friendship with Dan Schneider. Dan
Schneider. You're mad
Why
that
do you
Dan
care?
Schneider did you dirty instead of fired you the way he did, instead of like how he treated all these children. Do you know who Dan Snyder's wife is?
To me.
Do you know who Dan Snyder's wife is?
No.
Okay, so you know that video of Patti LaBelle and Tyra Banks, and the woman is like, "Don't eat the paper," and Patty's like, "What are you talking about? I'm not going to eat the paper." And she's like getting mad. Do you remember that video?
Yes.
That's his wife. That's Dan Snyder's wife.
Oh, are they still together now?
From the videos I've seen, yeah, I guess, but she's not really. I don't know. I haven't heard of a divorce, but that's his wife.
So that character, to me, he was very suspect in this whole docuseries because it's like he was trying to make it seem like, you know, some things were all well.
Yeah.
And that bothered me.
Oh, and then another thing that really scared me was the fact that Homeboy was messaging pen pals with the murderer, or that person.
The unaliver, yes.
That is scary. Pen pals. And you work with children. It's just, but the thing about the race, I understand what the man whose mom was a psychic that you watch.
Yes.
His mom, you know how he said, I'm still dealing with like race issues that I dealt with. Yeah. My parents put me and my sisters in a Catholic school with all white people, and from kindergarten to 8th grade. And it was only 4 kids, me and my sisters. Yes. And adults were treating us like horribly, and we didn't understand because we were young kids. So I know exactly what he's talking about.
Oh, yes.
Like, it messes you up, your self-esteem, because you're like wondering like, why am I being treated?
You feel like sometimes not good enough. I went through the same thing in middle school. Like I told you guys in that other video, I was in the magnet program. Straight white kids. There was some classes I was like the only black kid in there. Like, y'all don't know how traumatizing that is.
They make you feel, and then you were saying in the other video about that white humor that is just kind of like really weird. Like, I literally was told I was a slave, and I was like, I don't understand why that is funny to you.
Right?
Like, is it me? That's because I don't find it funny. Am I the problem? Because I don't see how that's funny.
Make you think that like you're crazy. You're like, it's so wrong with me.
Like, I'm the issue. Like I'm like, I don't care how good the school is. My child needs to be around people that look like them because
Right.
that will give them lasting issues.
Yeah,
And
it does. It
yeah.
does. It really does. Any final thoughts on the docuseries?
No, that literally was all it. Thank you for having this space for us. I love
Yeah,
talking about
definitely.
this.
Thank you.
Good
Night.
night.
All right, what is going on, Big Draco? Not the little one.
Okay, I'm so glad because I really do just say this. I don't want to sound crazy when I say this, but like
Uh-huh.
I need people to understand that the parents and the like all the predators involved, like they're to blame too. But I think like it's a bigger issue, like the way that money is just so like important to people in general that they're willing to do anything, including sacrificing their own kids just to get it.
Right.
Because even with like Amanda Bynes' parents and everything, like I could tell like obviously how close they were with Dan. Like clearly they were like okay with their daughter going along with this grown man because they were getting paid.
Right.
But like the boy whose mom like was really involved and always asking these questions, they kept mentioning how like he really wanted to get them out of the hood. And I know like he was saying like the stuff that he was doing was weird and he was uncomfortable, but like I could tell like he was basically trying to say that he was willing to go through whatever just to get the check and get them wherever they need to go.
Right.
And I really wish like I just wish things would change where people didn't have to be so reliant on money that they're willing to do whatever and say whatever. Cause like even the writers, oh yeah, they're not they get nothing from me. The little white lady tears. I don't want to say this because I didn't want to sound rude, but I think the way that white women turn on each other and turn on their like younger counterparts like is
Yes.
disgusting.
You're
I don't
not fans of
understand how.
Christy and Jenny.
Yes, I don't understand how these two like the disrespect started very early. And personally, me as somebody who's quit a lot of jobs, I wouldn't take that foolishness. I don't
Same.
really understand why they thought it was like I understand she didn't want to work them jobs no more and she had rent to pay, whatever. But there's no way this was more worth it than not doing it. Like the whole thing of where she had to bend over and pretend like she was getting taken from the back and still
Yeah.
do it. And I'm thinking in my head, like, oh yeah, she's not gonna do this. This is where she gets up and leaves.
Right. I
And she
gagged when
still
she said
did
she
it.
did it. I said, "Oh my god."
Like, guys,
I
we have to stand
gagged.
up.
I really gagged at that part because, and not even that, she was so embarrassed she didn't even tell the story that Miss Jenny told it for her. That's why that was what
Right.
made me really not like her because I'm like, that's really not your story. You could have briefed over the situation, saying, "Oh, she made her do something uncomfortable." You described it in deep detail.
And then when they asked Chrissy about it, like she didn't really want to say like she did it, but like
Because
she
it's
did it.
embarrassing. Like,
Yes.
Oh my god.
I also think that Brandy's mom, like, I just think a lot of them, I'm not gonna say what I want to say because I don't want to risk my chances of getting into heaven, but I do think that some of them should be in a place where they experience pain all the time.
You feel like they're allowed to blame as to why some of their kids went through the stuff that they went through.
Yeah, not just their own kids, but like the other kids. Like, I don't like, we have no idea how many kids Brandy's mom could have saved had
Right.
she said something. And
Right.
how like I don't know if Brandy's okay right now. Like the way they were talking about her in the documentary, it seemed like past tense, like something may have happened to her, or she just doesn't like want to be like
I believe she's still alive and just she didn't want to be a part of the IQ series. And I
Yeah,
really
like
feel
I
bad for
totally
her
get
'cause
that.
people could dig up her information, find out who she is.
Yeah.
Because her pictures were being plastered all over that docu-series for like half of that. I think it was the second or third part. Like half of that part, it just kept showing her picture. So it's like, ugh. So what do you think about the whole Drake Bell situation? And did you watch T-Bone's interview with Dan?
So I didn't watch the TiVo interview because I just didn't want to give Dan like, especially because it was on his like pages. Like I didn't want to give him the views or the attention. Like I already knew it was gonna be some foolishness. The fact that it was 20 minutes like kind of added to that. So I really didn't want to see it.
Y'all not missing out on much. All y'all missing out is him doing like an emotional cry. Tebow literally playing Tebow. Like I swear that wasn't the character he played. I'm telling y'all, that was him. They literally told him, "Hey, get a stick of donuts and make us laugh." I swear to God, I was like, "What is this?"
I just feel like, oh, like I'm tired of everybody selling out. We're too old to sell out. He's way too old to be selling out. Like I just don't like it.
That was crazy.
The whole Drake Bell thing, like obviously his mom failed him mostly, obviously the big one. I know as dad, like I know he wish he could have done more, but like I don't know if there is. I mean, technically there what could have been something he did. Like I like how the other boy's mom, like she was asking a lot of questions, and I would have hoped that if it reached to a crazy point, she would have just told him to leave. Like I feel like I understand like Drake wanted this big thing, like he wanted to be famous, he wanted to have all this. He said he still enjoyed the fun parts he had, but it's like if I was a parent, like I would just be like, you're not doing this.
Right.
I think what else?
Now, do you think so? Do you put? Of course, I think you gonna agree. Do you put a lot of the fault on the mother of Drake, or do you feel like she was so manipulated by Brian Peck? Because that could have been the case. Because he did have a close relationship to the mom to the point where she believed everything he told her.
Yeah, I believe that she was definitely manipulated. Obviously, her relationship with her husband, like she wasn't gonna probably trust anything he said because she doesn't like him, but she'll obviously trust this man who's a kind of a stranger, but like she thinks her son's come to around, so she'll think that's okay. But at the same time, when Drake was like, "Yeah, my mom, she just didn't feel like driving, so she didn't," I'm like, "What do you mean you didn't feel like driving?
That's what made me
What were
like,
you
hey,
doing?" I'm trying to figure out what were all of these parents. I'm not saying that they were like poor or anything or like because I don't know what they were doing if they had jobs that they had to be at.
but the
Obviously
wages were
not.
different back then. I'm sorry. Let's not act
Right.
like right now. Okay, I can see a parent saying that now, but back then, come on now. Apartments
Right.
were like
What were you
$300 a
doing all the
month.
time that you couldn't drive nowhere to take your son that was really making all the money? He's probably making more money than you.
The wages weren't the same. I'm sorry. Like, come
I
on now.
just don't know why like her excuses weren't enough. She should have been there in the documentary. Obviously she didn't want her lashings, but she's still gonna get them.
Right. Regardless of her being there or not, I just feel like the point of her being there in the docuseries would have been in more support for Drake than her trying to prove us that she wasn't aware of anything. Like to me, her being there would just be having Drake be happy, like, hey, my mom's here supporting me because now I'm telling the world everything that nobody knew. Because the
Yeah.
whole world didn't know anything about this. So yeah. Now
That's
what
it, man. Yeah,
stars
me either. Like, I had no idea like any of this had happened to him. Like, I was so shocked by the
yeah.
whole thing.
Thank God I wasn't a huge Drake and Josh watcher because that would have ruined my image. If
The
something were
whole
to come
thing,
out
like,
about
I unfortunately can no longer watch any of these Dan Snyder shows, and I
yeah,
hope like in the future, like if I have children, like they don't start playing those as reruns or something. I'm just gonna turn it off. But still,
I can guarantee you Nick won't play a lot of those shows in reruns for a long period of time. They're gonna be playing that girl Lele and SpongeBob for like
because the only way, like, I
years to
was
come now.
Yeah, the only way, like, I was born in like 2002, so like I didn't really see all that and stuff while it was airing, but I've seen reruns so much that I basically know the show. Like, I didn't even know, well, like I had seen, like I knew when Amanda Bynes came on, I knew when Nick Cannon came on the show, and I knew that little black boy who did the nose thing. Like, I knew he was on the show, but I had never seen that sketch before in my life.
Right.
And I was so like, oh, this is gonna be racist because of the huge nose. But then they did the thing about his shoulders. I was like, yeah, that's pretty bad too.
Now, do you think Nick Cannon will speak out? Now, this is an interesting one I never threw out there. Nick Cannon was big. He's Nick and Knight. He's Nick. Do you feel like he will speak on any of this? Because I don't think he will.
I don't think he will either, but I do think that stuff that probably happened while he was a child actor is why he's so like I wouldn't say hypersexual because like I don't literally know what he does, but like it probably
He
does
has about
explain.
7 baby moms. You can say that.
Okay, yeah, like it probably does
And we've
contribute
seen
a
him on Bad
lot.
versus Wild talking about, girls big that be cake, say he gonna get Johnson pregnant.
Oh
That's fair
yeah,
to
he was
say.
gonna get Michelle pregnant too on that last episode.
Right. Right. It's fair to say that. It's fair to say that.
Yeah, I think that probably does have a lot to do with it. And
Hmm.
I hope that I don't know, he doesn't like the whole thing with like Amanda and Jeanette, like I don't know. They don't have to, I guess, if they don't want to. It's
Mhm.
not really like I don't think anyone needs them to speak. Well, not needs, but it would help if they did, but it's like I don't think they have to, like, especially if it's gonna mess them up.
Right.
Especially Amanda, like if bringing this up is going to mess her up so bad, like she has to start all over again, then I just don't think she should do it.
Yeah.
I
Amanda, I
do
feel like
think
shouldn't get involved with any of this because her mental space to me, you could already see on video is fragile. So it's like,
yeah.
yeah, no, no.
I think if anybody were to speak up next, I guess it could be Daniela Monet. I think like a lot of people like they were saying like Keenan and Kel. I know you mentioned Andre. Like I just fully believe that some stuff just didn't happen to certain people like at all, and they just never got to see it or never got to experience it. So it might be very hard to find people not just in the industry, but people who like there's probably so many kids who thought they were getting their big break and never really made it and got abused and got thrown to the side and have never told their story because nobody knows who they are.
Right.
Um, but that's I don't know. That's it. Of
All right. All right. Thank you so much for calling in, Draco.
course,
All
love
right.
you.
Night. What's going on, ZM?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Good. I just found out about this Drake stuff today, and I mean, I'm not surprised because I have been watching videos about Dan Schneider for a very long time now. There was another YouTuber that he kept talking about him, Sloan. You know who Sloan is?
Yes.
Yeah. So, the scenes that he had with Amanda Bynes in the bathtub. Now thinking about it, because I was obsessed with the Amanda show. Like, so when I saw that she had the breakdown that she did. I was devastated because I looked up to her. I really loved her, and I got a lot of my humor from her too, watching her the Amanda show. So he did, yeah, like he did scenes with her, like in the bathtub, and I'm like thinking about it now. I'm like, that's disturbing. Like
Right.
I
And he
could
was
only
fully clothed in a bathtub with her. That's what she's referring to, you guys.
Yeah, and that to me, seeing now, like she was very talented, I'll say that. Like she could play multiple characters, and I wonder what is it that they like. I wonder sometimes if they like, I don't want to say like maybe they probably drugged her up or something
Yeah.
because it makes sense why she had the breakdown she did later on, and she even quit Hollywood because she did the movie She's the Man, and she didn't like herself in that movie. Like she had a lot of insecurities. um so they really messed that girl up, and now think a lot of child stars, like looking back at it, and also like I don't know if you know Hilary Duff.
Yes.
So
Of
Hilary
course
Duff,
we know Hillary Duff.
of course,
I
of
told you I was a
course.
Disney kid. The Lizzie McGuire show was my ish too. This is why I said if they were to do a docu series like this about Disney, it would break me completely because those shows
Yeah.
I live by.
Seriously, me too. So like with Lizzie McGuire, right? I remember I saw a news article about her mom, and they were saying her mom is difficult to work with. And now thinking about it, I think that her mom just didn't play when it came to her daughter.
Right.
And I think that they try to taint her name. Like she was her manager for a very long time. And what and you notice Hillary, like, she's like okay, like mentally stable. You
Right.
don't hear anything about her in the news. So I really do feel like her mom did not play when it came to her, and Disney didn't like that because they like to get their hands on these child stars and do what they want with them. We haven't heard anything really about Disney. I mean, look at Orlando Brown, but I feel like a lot of the parents that like Drake's mom, I'm sorry, you could have done more for your child. And you not showing up to the documentary just shows that you're not you don't care about him. Or like, not saying that she doesn't care about him, but it's like that shows a lot in your in your parenting skills because I
This
just
was a
don't.
big moment in his life. Like nobody knew this.
Yeah, nobody knew about this, so you should have been there. And also now people are even questioning you more because it's it to me. It's like, are you upset that Dan Snyder is gonna see this and maybe she doesn't want like I feel like
Yes,
she's
because Dan said in the interview, I don't know if you watched it with Tebow. I
no.
can't believe I just said that with Tebow. Anyway, he said that him and the mom had a close relationship, and the mom asked him to write a letter of what to say in the court with Brian Peck when he was on trial for the whole situation that went down.
Oh my God, yeah. So that's
So
starting
I
to
think
make a
it
lot
has
of
to do with
sense.
that. That's a good point.
And two of the actors I didn't know from Boy Meets World actually wrote letters to defend him, and they said they regretted it later on. I don't. You remember Sean and
Yes.
yes, him and the big brother. I forgot his name. It's been such a long time, but yeah, they defended him, and then later on they said they regretted it because they were also groomed by him. They groom a lot of these kids, and this happens. I'm telling you, is when the parents are not as hands on.
Right.
And like, for example, look at Tia and Tamara Mori. Their parents were hands on. They didn't play when it came to their daughters, and look how
Right.
they turned out. So you have the power to do it, but because these executives probably, you know, make them feel so comfortable to let their kids around them, and these are the consequences of it. And Dan Snyder, I honestly, if I was a parent and my kid was working on a show with him, I wouldn't allow them anywhere near that man. That man looks like a creep just by looking at him. I could tell.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I wouldn't leave my kids around them. So yeah, it was just surprising when I heard all the allegations. You guys already spoke about it, but yeah, all the things that Drake said, and it makes sense. Just like the things that I've seen about him throughout the years, I that all is an effect from that because you see also like Lindsay Lohan, for example, like
She went
look at
through her periods. Yeah.
she had her periods, like, you know, too. It's like a lot, these kids, their childhood is taken away, and a lot of times it's, again, it's because of the parents are not really hands on. If you were as hands on, you would allow your kids to have a childhood. You wouldn't allow these Hollywood execs to come in and, you know, do what they want with them, pretty much. And you know, and I think about like Shirley Temple too. You ever
Yeah.
Yeah, like Shirley Temple, they had movies of babies acting like, you know, like walking in heels, and like it's weird. It's like these fetishes these people had. They lived it through the movies. Like
Now,
think like
what some of the Nick shows do you remember? Do you remember like any weird scenes that stood out to you that now watching docuseries you look back on and kind of remember? Because a lot of the ones that stick out to me is the Victorious and also iCarly.
I never really watched those shows because I was a little like older at the time, but
Mhm.
I do remember All Dad, and they had like one of the scenes that was, now thinking about it, was like, yeah, it's very racist. The ones with Nick and Ken, when they used to play like the girls with the nails and the hair, the big hair, and they used to work at a shop. I don't know if you
Right.
remember that. That one to me was, now thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, I could tell right now that they were racist, like very well, like very much so. So that definitely something that I did notice. But yeah, I don't, yeah, and also, oh, I did see scenes with Ariana Grande, like all these weird scenes that the voice that she would make all the time. I'm like, why is she doing that? Like
Her
she
voice
sounds,
to me, I always found disturbing on that show. Like it was so light and airy, and it's like
yeah, it's
little
like they,
girl.
yeah, like she sounded like a little girl. I'm like, is she playing out his fantasies or something? Because my little brother used to watch it, so I would sit down with him sometimes, and I'll be like, why does her voice sound like that? She sounds annoying. So, and I'm, you know, it was just weird. But yeah, so
And he would
that's
tell
all.
her, Dad would tell her to make it sound lighter,
Yeah, that that's pretty. Like, yeah, like it's his
as if
his
it wasn't light
fetishes,
enough. I'm like, Ariana
right? Like
already talks like a little girl. You're making it worse.
seriously, like he outed himself with all of these things. Like people, like I understand these people have connections, so they're able to get away with things. Like I'm surprised that Peck was able to work in Disney after what he did to Drake, because he was able to work in The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. So I'm wondering what they have to say about this, because like they protect each other, all of these people. They, if you're
Right.
connected, you're gonna be protected. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I have to say.
Now, what artist? Not so what artists? What actors that haven't spoken out that you think will speak out in the future that you guesstimate will speak out or think will speak out?
Um, maybe probably someone from Victorious or someone that worked closely with him. I don't think Amanda Bynes will, just because she's not really like mentally there to handle all of this. Like
Right.
people pressuring her to speak out, or Ariana Grande to speak out, can't tell someone when to speak out. You have to let them feel comfortable enough to do it. Like Drake. Drake took years and now he's speaking up. So, but yeah, I would say that, yeah, I think maybe someone from Victorious, or maybe Zoe 101, you know, because there's a lot of issues in with just not only Dan Snyder, even between the actors, and I wonder sometimes why that is.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for calling in, Zion.
no problem. Bye.
All right, night. All right, what's going on, Nene?
Oh, hold up a second. I'm on I'm on the flash. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, bet. Okay. Hold on. So I got, first of all, I'd say I was actually in the middle of watching it again with my friend. And okay. So first things first, I do want to say about Ariana Grande, I do feel like she does have to say something, because has she not publicly supported Dan Schneider? So
Yes.
it's kind of like, at this point you have to, because if you have publicly supported Dan Schneider and now this whole thing is coming out, then stand on business and say like what you have to say, especially with all the things that's coming out. Like, she really has no choice. The way that her career moves are set up, she has the Wicked movie, she has her album that just came out. She's gonna have to address this if she wants to have people, because it's like, they're not, people are not going to respect that. Personally, I don't respect it if you don't say something, especially when it's hard, because it's like, yes, she's a victim of this shit, but you have also publicly
Right.
supported this man, especially after the whole Jeanette McCurdy coming out with this situation and like everything that she's experienced. Like, come on, girl, like you need to speak out. Like, I'm so sorry that, like, oh, pressure this, pressure that. Amanda Bynes gets that grace. She does. Ariana Grande, I'm so sorry, but you do not have that grace. You don't
And
got
it's
it. You don't
also
got
the
it. I'm so
reason why I
sorry,
said
girl.
that also is it's her fan base. Her fan base is
Hmm.
young girls. So what are you saying to them? You get what I'm saying?
No, exactly. These are kids that love to watch her old. There's like, they're going through her entire discography like at a very young age, and they're gonna see
Right.
all that. So it's like, you need to make a stance. You need to take like, not responsibility or accountability, but for not for some shit that you didn't do. The only She needs to be like, okay, yes, she does need to take accountability for publicly supporting him in the past, but other than that, just speak on your experience, say what you have to say, and then leave it at that. And then after that, it's like, then you can be like, you can't ask me for more after that. You know what I mean? So at
Yeah.
least stand on that, and then make it clear that you don't like, because it's like, especially when she was so publicly like sexualized, like her and Danielle, like they were the most sexualized, I feel like, in Victorious. Like, it was obviously Victoria and all them, but it's just like those two especially, like it was like extreme. It was very extreme with those two. And also, I do want to touch on like the whole Drake Bell situation about like his past and stuff like that. I feel like at this point, now that we know this, I feel like people should give him the grace of at least like, let's actually read the court documents, see what is true, actually take a look at that situation, give him that grace of at least coming with knowledge of, because he is taking accountability for what he did, as far as it seems from what it looks like. But it's just like, I personally don't know enough about, like, I can't, because I was watching Sloan, the guy who, like, yeah, everyone knows he was even featured in the doc or the documentary. And you
Right.
even saw because I saw like a little clip, and I actually was watching a video of his like earlier. He said it like years ago, a couple years ago. He was, I guess, messaging Drake's ex-wife. They wanted to come out with the story, and they wanted to like find a platform where he could share his story or something of that nature. So he knew about these things, and he has suspected, but it was never like really confirmed. So I feel
Right.
like he's read all the court documents for all that. I feel like, let's at least give Drake Bell like that grace of just like, and actually like not come with misinformation and be like, oh, well, he did this. And unlike, 'cause I personally don't know what he actually did do. And I don't think a lot of people do know what he actually did do, because like it was really just a lot of rumors that kind of went all around whenever all that shit popped off. And then he turned up missing and all that shit happened. So I feel like, especially now with more context, I feel like people really should give him that, at least that grace, especially that since he's willing to take accountability. Now, Josh Peck, I'm so sorry. We're like 2 hours in. Can I please cuss?
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
yeah, I agree. Yes.
Okay, this musty, crusty, dusty motherfucking son of a bitch. I don't like this nigga. I don't like him. I really, really don't. Especially taking a look back at his humor, it was very much, oh, I'm a fat white boy with the soul of a black woman type of tease. And it was not cute. It was not cute at all. And that's why, like,
Mm.
niggas fuck with Drake, because you can tell that he seems more like a genuine person. Josh
Right.
was always a weirdo. He was always a weirdo. And I personally can say I grew up fat. I grew up chubby. You know what I mean? I'm not like roly poly big, but I was always a thicker gal, you
Uh-huh.
know? So
Okay.
it's just like, and I have like lost a lot of weight and I also gained it
Mhm.
back. So it's like people always commenting on my weight. I know how two ways it can
You look
go
good, girl.
when
Don't let
you
him get to you.
thank you. Oh no, no,
Period.
no. It's
Okay.
I don't care. It's
Yeah.
it's a,
Yeah.
like no, like I wish you could see this ass, but anyways, it's like it's like for me, it's just like the fact that it can go two ways when people get skinny. It can go like you because as a bigger person, even if you lose weight, you always have that mentality of like, yes, I'm a bigger person. And some people become a little more humble, but they still like, just have like some of those insecurities of being big, but it shows like in a more humble way, or it can go another way where it goes to the fat, you lose it, not really, because it goes to your head. It could either disappear out of your body or it could go up to your head. That's what I think. And for him, it went up to his motherfucking head. All
Mhm.
what them ghost people call the liquid
Right.
gold, it went to his head. That's what he got going on up there.
Oh
And
man. So
like
you don't
dead
feel like
at
him reaching out to Drake was like genuine. You feel like that was just so that way people could kind of get off his back. Mm.
some motherfucking bullshit if I have ever seen it. Like, what do you mean? Like, he has never said anything really nice about him publicly. Like, I seen a video really of him like talking about, oh, I told him go apologize to my
To
wife.
my
I was
wife.
on some
Yes, yes, yes.
Tony
Uh-huh.
Soprano shit. Nigga, you was on nothing. You was not on no Tony Soprano shit. You was on, like, what are you motherfucking talking about? You was on some Peter Griffin shit. That's what you was on. Like the little cut scenes like that they be doing. That's like fucking Walmart version. Like, please don't
What?
ever say that shit because it's like he's just so aggravating. Like you have publicly like supported Dan Schneider again and again and again to the point where Jeanette McCurdy, she even felt so uncomfortable when she was trying to speak her truth on your platform, whatever. She had to pull out of that podcast episode because he was being disrespectful.
Okay.
So it's just like
And
you
his
don't
podcast is
public
called The Good Guy.
exactly. It's very
Just so
much
y'all
fake
know.
nice guy. And what was y'all saying earlier? Like talking about someone said like, oh, like he wanted to be in the reboot. He wanted to be the head honcho, the HBIC, and like what? Like and he wanted Drake to be like the low down like failed musician. Like it's just like what they poked fun at both characters for like in the show. So I really don't understand. Like I remember even in the docu-series, like Drake was just like the way he presented it, like it was just like, yeah, like Drake is just like this musician who thinks he's cool, but he's not really that smooth. Like they both have their quirks, like you know what I mean? Like it's just like, so why are you trying to make it seem like this man has just trying to like punch down on you? Like he has not. Now that you like got a little bit of clout and the
Yeah.
people saw that you got skinny and like it's like please,
And
please,
the thing is,
no.
when it comes to acting, people have a hard time differentiating the character from the real person. Just because you're playing that person
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean you're that person. It's like
Exactly.
that to me is already stupid in itself because it's like it's not real life, guys. You feel
No,
me?
exactly. No, exactly. And I just also want to say, like, oh, two people who can definitely go to hell. Well, there's a lot of people who can go to hell, honestly.
Right,
But
right,
the mother, no, like she needs to go to hell. She needs to go to prison. I don't care. Child neglect, like those laws exist for a fucking reason because she was explicitly warned. She was explicitly warned, and because she was too fucking lazy to go take her son to auditions. That's literally when he got the opportunity to abuse him. So what do you mean? So what do you like?
yeah,
It's like then you don't want to show up on the documentary, yeah, because you don't want to get your fucking lashings. But no. You got to stand on that shit and take accountability. At least explain your
right.
side and say, oh, yes, this is the things that Brian said to me. This is how he is. Like show, like come on, like
Just
stand
so
on
we could get
something.
some
Don't
understanding as to why that even
exactly,
happened. But now we
exactly.
just
Just
assume that you just didn't care. You know what I'm saying?
exactly. And exactly now people are gonna because people are gonna find out who you are. People are gonna find you regardless. People are gonna find you regardless, ma'am. And so you could have at least spoken up, but now you lost that. And I read that they gave everyone the opportunity to comment and say something For all the people who wrote letters in defense, they all gave them warnings. They gave everybody a heads up and said, you can come speak and explain your side. Everyone who wrote a letter, they declined. They all declined. James Marsden, which I was so disappointed in. That was my white boy of the month, like a couple months back.
I
So
think a lot of them that wrote that letter were embarrassed after they actually knew what was going on. You never write a letter of support until you really know the actual situation, because you could end up looking real stupid and supporting the whole animal.
exactly, like Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, like they can go to hell too. Like they can go to fucking hell. Like what? Like
Now, who do you
these
think
all
is
these.
going to speak
Mhm.
out that hasn't
Who
spoken
do
out in regards to this whole situation?
I think Danielle is definitely someone who is most likely going to speak out, um, because she has already spoken out. So I think it's like pretty much like her. I don't think like Leon. I don't think any of them are really gonna speak out. The only one I just because Ariana Grande, like she's a big name. If she at least like girl, if you're not gonna speak with your words, speak with your actions. Get your lawyer on the motherfucking line and create a
Mm,
lawsuit, and then don't say anything and be like, the courts, my lawyers are speaking for me, that's it. You know what I mean? So it's just like
yeah.
that would be a smart way to play it. And she's a big name. It's like Taylor Swift doing that lawsuit for the AI shit. You know what I mean? It's a lot of people are affected by it. Little girls are killing themselves over, this AI generated shit. Like, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like you get someone a big name like Ariana Grande to shake some shit up, and it'll the table, they'll really shake the table, will really be shook. That's all I'm saying. And
Yeah.
I feel like, but I also think it's a complication because of someone did mention about Elizabeth Gillies' husband, which, oh my, I'm such a big fan of Elizabeth Gillies, like, which I think is just such a shame that, like, I do feel like she was groomed. I do feel, because
Oh
I
yeah.
love Dynasty. Like, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry. No one can tell me nothing about that show. But that was my shit, the reboot of Dynasty. And she was great in it. And I did watch Victorious. The humor for Nickelodeon never hit for me, honestly, but I did love the cartoons, like all the Danny Phantom, Jimmy Neutron, like Fairly Odd Parents, and like I watched
The only
iCarly
thing I would
only
see
for
myself
Sam.
laughing a little bit in is iCarly. The other shows,
Yeah, for
not so
Sam.
much. Yeah, because of
Exactly. And then
Sam.
like,
When
yeah,
when she would be angry. That's what I would
exactly.
find funny. Yes.
Exactly. And
Yes.
then Zoe 101, just because I want to be on that campus, I was like, damn, I want to be there. But they were kind of weird on there too. I didn't watch all that. It was like Nickelodeon was very just weird. But yeah, like it just like for me, it's just like I think her relationship with the because she's married to the nigga, like I'm sorry, I keep saying nigga, but they crackers.
Yeah, no, I know who you're talking
So
about.
yeah, so she married to the cracker, and it's just it just complicates things because they're very, very close. So I don't know if I think she values her relationship with Elizabeth Gillies because they go all the way back to like childhood days. Like they were on Broadway when they were little kids, so they literally grew up together. And I don't think that she would risk speaking in a way that would harm her relationship with
Oh
Elizabeth
yeah.
Gillies.
Yeah,
So that
definitely.
also kind of like mixed into it. But honestly, I wish more people did speak out from Victorious and like all the other Nickelodeon shows, like besides like, and I think, oh, the Disclassified People, like I did watch that show. I'm not gonna lie, actually I did like that show, but they was kind of weird on there too. But like that One Bite shit, I remember like it's just they are corny ass people. They've been moving real different ever since like this podcast. They're jobless. It's giving unemployed. Like it's giving like it's like FaceTime me if you that bored, babes. Like I'm so sorry. You were on TV a million years ago.
It's the way
Sit
that they
your
were
ass
so quick
down.
to make that video. Like that the thing had dropped literally the hours the night before. So it's like, how are you guys so quick to like, damn, I didn't even get to watch and do the recap. You feel me?
No,
I
dead
was like,
ass.
wait, I gotta see what they talking about. Like,
And you
I don't know. It was very
shut the
quick.
fuck up.
It is
Like please, someone get that the butter stock for them.
right.
Cause
Not the
I'm
butter
like
stuff for my
honestly.
Carly.
No, because I'm really sick of them. I'm really sick of that whole cast. Like, and yes, who's that? Daniel? I see you cooning over there in the corner. Like, shut the fuck
Okay,
up.
one final thoughts. I want your final thought on the Dan and Boogie interview. Did you watch the interview with
No, I did
T-Bow?
not. I could care less what either of them have to motherfucking say. I could care less. Like dead ass. Like my cat shit is how much I care about that shit. Like I don't care. I don't care about what he has to say. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Pay them people they money or surrender yourself to the motherfucking authorities.
You
I
know he
don't give
won't.
a fuck. Exactly. So shut the fuck up and go die in a fucking corner. Go back to your little fucking rock and just lay there and die there. Like, don't nobody want to, like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sick of him. I really don't care. All these people need to do what, remember that man from Glee who played Puck? That's what all these people need to do. If you're not going to surrender yourself to the authorities, that's what you need to motherfucking do. I'm so sorry. Get the fuck out of here. We don't need you here. Inflation is bad enough. The world is terrible enough.
This
Like,
did bring a
please.
negative stain into like the world because it's like at least back then it was the innocent greater times, and it's like now we're finding out it wasn't. So yeah.
I mean,
Any final
people been
thoughts?
knew though. It's like, yeah, that's
Right.
really what it is. It's just like it's so like it's just disgusting and like I just think there's certain people that do deserve grace, but just some people who don't.
Yeah.
Like Jenny, those two women writers. I'm so sorry, but with the Penelope Taint things, like y'all, he told you that what it meant, and you turned around and lied about it for him. No, so it's kind of like chop,
Right.
chop.
Yeah. Thank you so much for calling in, Nene.
Thank you for having me. Oh my god, bye. Love you,
Period.
Pierre.
All right, we're gonna end it off there. Thank you guys so much for calling in and giving y'all opinions. I plan on doing a lot more stuff like this, especially this year, diversifying our content so we can really talk about some things besides some of these stupid network dramas that we always talk about on here. Okay, now let me know what you guys think down below. Please be respectful in the comments. If you have been through anything dealing with this whole docu series, this is a trigger warning. I'm gonna put, of course, beforehand, so that way, if anybody's been through anything like this, you won't be triggered watching this whole after show. Okay, thank you guys for the ones that did call and give your opinions. Of course, this is just a sad situation. Leave your comments down below, and we're out, babies.
No personal thing.